I'm just excited.
I remember first day of first stand, we had an interview together. It was after a loss. Not a lot of hopes on your side. You guys were tired.
Tak streamu na YouTube, hoši. Jsme tady po 5 hrách Casey proti Oystrům a ty vole Casey vyhrálo 5. hru. A budeme teďka koukat na Číňany a Korejce, kdo vyhraje, kdo bude ve finále s Evropou, což je neuvěřitelný comeback, že Evropa byla 0-2 a z 0-2 všichni si mysleli, že jsme nejhorší region, nejhorší tým Casey. A potom to comebackli jak makoři.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say thank you so much for supporting us. I'm happy.
Kolik jich tam je? Tady ty lidi nemají lístky, jo, by the way. Oni tam jsou, protože nemají lístky a jsou out a koukají se prostě buď na telefonu nebo na projektoru. Zaznam na YouTube není z Casey proti... Nestreamoval jsem na YouTube. Casey proti Oystrům. Tohle je... Nevím, ta bageta, to mi vždycky přijde cringe strašně.
Now, let's see who Casey is going to face off against in first and finals tomorrow. Deskers, over to you.
Jak je vždycky na rozhovoru. Vždycky. Já mám pocit, že nikdo nikdy nebyl nikde jiný než jak na rozhovoru.
I'm so happy for Laura. She was dying in the room watching with us, and so happy for Carmine Core to get the victory. It really came down to kind of what Yike said, right? Like keeping up kind of a really good mental, which was huge, and then also trusting in themselves, especially piloting a composition like this, which is so dependent on Kalist being able to pop off on this Nila.
Yeah, I mean, there's such
Vlad je strašně funny, actually.
Execution with a pick like Nila, especially the build he went, which was very squishy, but finding some key moments. And I think it's just crazy that this was a team who nearly got sent home from group stage, very close to happening.
Targama se asi hodně rád, že mu Casey dali šanci, tyjo, protože nikdo mu nechtěl dát šance, všichni si mysleli, že je dog shit. Doslova Baus udělal meme, kdy prostě flamey Targamase a týpek na tomhle turnaji předved úplný bomby. Úplně gapoval supporty celkem.
My French accent is terrible.
It is perfect.
It is not. But yeah. I want to give you your moment to kind of celebrate, right? Because you've seen these guys, you've watched these guys all year. What did you? I know you're I already pointed out you're dying in the green room.
A lot of emotions. Yeah.
But what do you think was their biggest strength in watching them?
By the way, ty jsi viděl, jak Nemesis říkal, že koučové v LEC jsou paycheckers? Na 100%. Souhlasím s tím. Málo který coach není paychecker. Já nechápu, jak se tam ti trenéři ale tak dlouho drží, víš, v těch týmech. Proč si nedáš power nap? Já si nepnu po téhle sérii. A pak uvidíme, jestli budu streamovat s kapesníkem.
That's what we're going to find out in the next hours. And to give you a bit of a preview of the next series, Jisun yesterday caught up with Peanut in the Verizon Game Day interview.
Co to znamená paychecker? Že v podstatě nic nedělají. Že prostě si odpracují 5 hodin a jdou domů.
이제 4강전 탑 e스포츠를 상대하실 예정인데요. 이제 피어리스 모드로 다전제 들어가게 됩니다. 좀 자신감 어떠신지 궁금한데요.
앞선 대회에서 이기기도 했고 저희가 지금 팀 분위기가 좋다 보니까
Kámo, to je doba. Všichni prostě na telefonu a takhle si to točí.
Because you recently won the LCK Cup and also our team's momentum and atmosphere is great. I believe we can do a great job on stage.
Hanva opět, no bude to sranda proti TES, bude to sranda. Ale oni pikují strašně divný čampy, ale oni to pikovali prostě for fun, teďka to budou tryhardit podle mě.
이제 사실은 하나생명이 계속해서 다양한 픽을 꺼내 보이고 있어요. 다전제에 갔는데 이제 아직도 보여주지 않은 그런 깜짝 픽이 남아 있다고 생각하시는지.
Korejci umí anglicky, ale stydí se mluvit. Ale jako umí málo.
있다곤 못할 것 같은데 충분히 지금 보여드린 챔피언들로도 다전제에서 하고도 남는다고 생각해서 있긴 하지만 더 많이 있나라는 질문에는 저도 잘 모르겠네요.
Tak, Paťáku.
It's
Vanish
actually
nepomáhá.
hard to answer because I think based on what we already played, it's enough for us to play them out throughout the best of 5 series. So it could be a yes, it could be a no, but we still have a little bit left
Ten
in
blondiák
the
má 2 metry.
storage
Ne,
as
oni jsou
well.
malincití
And we
Asiati,
get to
fakt.
play this newly
Podle mě ten
introduced
blondiák je
first
tak
tournament in front
metr
of the home crowd. So is he getting any
86,
fan
metr
buff so
90
far?
max.
이제 또 한국 팬분들 앞에서 새롭게
možná 이미.
된 퍼스트 스탠드라는 국제 대회를 치르고 계신데 그런 만큼 팬분들의 응원으로 인한 버프를 좀 받고 계신가요?
네, 지금 저 방금 여기 인터뷰하러 온 자리에서도 느껴질 정도로 팬분들이 진짜 응원을 너무 많이 해주시고 너무 재밌게 해주셔가지고 네, 감사할 뿐입니다. 네.
Yeah, I mean, like even for now, I can feel their support, their love while doing this interview. I have been having great experience thanks to the support coming from the fans. So I'm just very, very grateful. Then before we go, I would like to ask him if he has anything to say to the fans or like promise that they're gonna do a good job on stage. 그럼 마지막으로 이제 수많은 팬분들이 지금 인터뷰도 봐주고 계신데 잘하고 오겠다, 4강전 잘 이기고 오겠다 한마디 팬분들을 보여주고 해주실 수 있을까요?
Sedí Francouzi tam furt kření, ne?
네. 이렇게 네. 많이들 응원해 주셔서 너무 감사드리고요. 내일 꼭 경기 이겨서 결승전까지 갈 수 있도록 노력하겠습니다. 감사합니다.
A proč je tam tolik fotografek? Tam jsou holky, co mají prostě takhle
Thank
velkou...
you so much for all the support, and we will do our best in our matchup against Top Esports in order to make it to the finals. And that was Pina from Hana Life. Back to you. 감사합니다.
감사합니다.
Welcome back to the caster desk for more First Stand 2025. I'm Azael here with Chronicler for a duo cast of
Fangirls, to jo, tak
versus
to chápu, že má
TES.
fangirls, ale nechápu, proč mají, vole, takhle velký objektiv, kurva.
It's a mistake, but there's no takebacks at this point.
They can't get us off this desk as we are getting in what was at the beginning of the tournament expected to be the finals, but here they are in semis. Hanwha Life taking on Top Esports, and I just hope that we're going to see a similar resurgence from TES that we saw from Cape Corp over the course of the tournament, because otherwise, based on both what we've seen,
A to jsi neviděl tu cikulu jejich.
this is going to be a quick one.
Co? Jakou cikulu, co to zase mluvíš? Kamo, já vám nerozumím.
All kinds of crazy stuff, and even with that, bringing out Kale, Zed, Vlad,
Vám jebe.
Quinn, all kinds of different
Mluvte
picks.
česky,
They're
kurva.
still undefeated. It is just incredible to see the level at which they are playing. Top came in here. Expectations were high. I do think most people expected them to come second to Hanwha, but not like this, and not having been taken down by KC.
Já nevím proč, ale Zeus s tímhle herkatem je strašně funny.
Was that one against Team Liquid, and we're going to see can TES flip the script here, because a good performance today will erase that failure in the group stage, but if they go home
Věříte, že TES překvapí, tak je to možný. Číňani jsou známí tím, že prostě group stage intí a potom v playoff hrajou dobře. Ale
that those type of turnarounds for this team are going to be rare domestically. I think they have, particularly in their last playoffs, actually shown so much resilience, right? Making the lower run bracket, actually getting to the point, despite some of the difficulties that they faced.
Yeah.
But we just haven't seen that in the tournament thus far, and we need to see that, because the last the match between these two teams was a 2-0 for Hanwha. Was very, nothing happened. Hanwha aced, and then the game was over.
Yep.
And TES, as you pointed, they weren't even fully in control of their own fate up until the final series of the group stage yesterday.
Číňani to tak dělají, no, Hanzi. Prostě Číňani group stage mají docela int a potom začnou hrát dobře. Protože oni se eventuálně začnou skrývat ty korejský týmy, eventuálně se strašně zlepší.
In which the tiebreaker rules were able to help them out. You know, they had that game score that was able to get them through, send TL home. We saw KC get through on that tie as well. They were able to take down CFO. So, you know, based on the group stage performance, some might call that a bit of an upset. We'll see if there's going to be another one today as we're into the champion select here for game number 1. It is time to find out what Hanwha really believes are the best picks. There's going to be no more fooling around when you're going up against TES.
Akali 1, 2, 3 takhle rychle. takhle, jako nedivím se, Akali je broken.
However, this team known for in game 1 in the best of 5 being extremely reliable, their win rate absolutely bonkers, only rivaled by
game 1 and game 5.
Game 1 and game 5, but guess what? TES.
Those next 3 games, they're up for grabs.
Those are the ones that also.
A Silase bych tam poslal, tak jako je to Zeka, no. Pokud někdo, tak Zeka, no.
Interestingly enough, while I think Hanwha's obviously going to pull back in draft, for me, with TES, it's all about the gameplay. I think their reads haven't been great. There have been things like the cannon that just clearly didn't really work out. But there's been a lot of drafts where you go in and you're like, TES, just play the opportunities. Jackie Love.
Nemůžou to nechat 369 no.
And then just straight up getting diffed into 2v2.
As well. I think, you know,
tak, mám pocit, že Hanwha začíná prostě tryhardit draftíky. Ne, jak vole, ne, že nebudou pikovat Z Vladimír. Yone Sejuani, okej.
Zdarec, máš info, kdy bude aktin sleva na tomto měsíc od 17.3.
One of those highly prized picks these
Za 2 dny
days
začíná slevička.
Mostly just sitting on the ban list all the time, but it is going to be let through, and we'll see what 369 is cooking, because Zeus has just looked like he is on a completely different planet than every other top laner here at the tournament.
Hasn't been particularly close. And that is taking into account the picks that were found as well. I do really like the opening here from TES.
Wukong, okay, Wukong je dobrý do Sejuani, vždycky dobrý.
Also picks away not just Zeka's Yone, it's a comfort pick for Cream, and specifically the combo of that Yone Rumble I think is so hard to play into if you have any type of stationary threat on your team. The Wukong actually coming out a lot earlier than I was expecting. The big pick for me that is still open here that I was actually kind of thinking they would go towards would be the Maokai, which is also one of Peanut's best champions.
Vemou Kai'Su teďka jako answer, nebo vemou prostě to paře? Asi vemou to paře, ne?
Wukong going in, the equalizer comes over the top, the true shot barrage comes over the top. So for TES, you are thinking, hey, you need to have one of those safer AD carries down in the bot lane for Jackie Love, who has been the victim of a lot of pressure in this tournament.
Jace se vemou
It's going to be Jace as the answer here for 369 up in that top lane.
4-5 bot lane.
Yeah, 369
Ale
another guy.
game 1 je klasika draft většinou.
Surprised by his level of performance. You know, yes, I do look at Zeus as the best top laner in the world. In fact, I look at him as the best top laner of all time. And it's not always the case that someone is the best all time and the current best, which is kind of unique and amazing to watch. But 369 I've always seen as one of the very best top laners as well. And this tournament, he has just not really had much of an impact.
No. Obviously, this was one of the big matchups, 2023. That MSI was a complete banger, and 369 at that point, I think, by a very clear margin, best tank player in the world. The amount of space that he was able to
myslíte, že bude mít her? Budeme mít 5 her zase?
Something that his team heavily relied on when he was on JDG. And I am wondering what the AD carry is going to be here. I was kind of wondering whether they were still going to ban the Ashe, which is the next in prior, right? Ashe, Kalista, Varus is the big three. But playing Ashe can be quite tough. I think it's because of lane swaps being eliminated. The lane matchup can always be rough for the Ezreal. The other one that I'm looking towards is the Corki, not because I think Corki is necessarily that crazy as an AD carry, but just the safety to play into the Wukong. Wukong in particular, post 6 can be really tough to reliably play into, as a lot of the champions from Zeka being taken away, no surprise there.
Silas, Akali, Ariban.
Something like the Azir, but Yone has been picked off into the Azir because it's so hard to actually shut him down.
Kaisa zabanul
Kaisa gets taken away, which was Sejuani Yone. Yone, I think, makes a lot of sense.
I mean, they really are trying to bench Jackie Love here. Obviously, we see on TES, they banned out the Varus. It's triple ban plus the takeaway of the Ezreal, so you are being pushed down quite a bit.
MF.
And it is going to be the MF, which... There's a lot of debate about the power of this pick. It has a strong laning phase. You can really dominate mid-prio on one item. Once you complete the BT, you can move around the map well. You can always be winning these trades, getting pushed there to have that first move to objectives. So there is a lot of power there, but without some pretty incredible setup, it can be very difficult to get that full channel build time that you kind of require to have a successful team.
Azir Alistar. Alistar je míň counterable než Leona.
This is his most iconic pick.
A co oni vemou? Oni vemou MF Leonu? Ale Leonu měli vzít Ezreal Leona a neřešit Brauma, upřímně. Protože Leona je strašně dobrá do MF. MF nemůže ulti, když Leona má ult, si to vždycky nechá. Rakan? The fuck? MF Rakan, jako, hej, Ezreal Alistar je slabá linka, ale MF Rakan bude v pohodě, ale prostě MF Rakan. Potřebuji víc CC. Čekal jsem třeba jako Leonu nebo něco. Jako Hanva tryhardí draft. Není tady Kayla Soshi. Nebo tady není Quintop. Nepodceňuju to, no.
It became his Alistar, which I think, because I remember seeing a piece of content from Hanwha, was on a 22 win streak.
That's
and then
insane.
Peanut picked Shyvana, and the light let him know it, that he did not appreciate that. And on one hand, Hanwha Life, again, I think even coming into the tournament was favorites for TES, though. We need to see a return to form. I want to see the TES that people have been able to see domestically, that even our very own analyst space right now just keeps holding on to. You know it's there. We just need to see it. And
Když jsme hodně intíčeky taky, no.
5 games for the first series.
Why not go for 10?
We gotta commit.
A nice even number.
Yeah, just 10 games in a row. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We are locked in here. First and second semi-final. HLE versus TES. If you're just tuning in now, you didn't hear me wrong. It's not the finals. It is the semi-finals. TES coming in as that number 4 seed here, looking to knock down HLE at home.
Tak fandíme komu? Komu fandíme? Já jsem spokojený, že je Evropa ve finále. Reálně bych spíš fandil Hanvě, protože prostě mám raději Hanvu, než prostě TES. TES jsou prostě... Ale když by TES vyhráli teď proti Hanvě, tak by Casey měli šanci vyhrát v finále. Což by bylo unreal. Ale myslím si, že jako fandím Hanvě a myslím si, že Hanva prostě fandím dobrému lolku. To je pěkný. To je pěkný.
That also, I mean, that is just kind of unfair in general with how he's been playing recently. But actually picking away the Jays, which in of itself is a great, extremely strong pick right now. And 369 has also played a decent amount of games on as well. It's also a pick away for the future of the series, right? Because it frees up a possible ban. Because Hanwha Live 100% was going to prioritize that as Cream.
Is just going to get headbutt backwards there. They will be able to clear out the wards. Zeka's going to be able to grab that, and we do have
Hanva Golden Road.
Rare leash, as you pretty much never see these.
Golden Road je, když vyhrajou LCK, MSI, LCK, Worlds, že vyhrajou všechno, co můžou.
We do have both junglers pathing towards the top side of the map. Obviously, Sejuani, particularly towards the top side, has quite good gank pressure. Peanut just wants to
si pamatuju, když jsme u těch Golden Road věcí, tak si pamatuju Fnatic 18-0. Split. To bylo nádherný. To bylo crazy nádherný. Týpci byli úplně najetí jak blázen.
Yep, and 369 going to try to deny some of this experience. We'll see if Zeus can actually get in range for that one melee. I'm not quite sure if he did grab it or not, but would have been right on that very.
To bylo rain over.
Not quite able to get with free there on Zeka. It's fun seeing these two players on kind of two champions that are so well associated with them. Yeah. And I've just loved kind of the story for these two players. Of course, Zeka came in, won a world championship. He really was looked at as the melee guy, but he has become such a more well-rounded player. Yeah. And I think Cream is kind of going through a similar journey.
Holo, si pamatuju, jak dělal. Holo.
From that same sort of reputation. And given his run in the LPL, really was able to do that. Took down some of the most legendary mid laners of all time. Rookie, Scout, Knight, and Doinby just to make it to the finals.
Good lineup.
To by byl býval strašně dobrý a pak jako něco se mu stalo a hrál jenom secondary leagues a teďka začal koučovat, ne?
Zeus has been known to overstep sometimes in the early lane. The lane is pushing
into him. Reckless yellow star.
Feel safe. We'll see if they want to go for the dive. Obviously, it's a bit more high risk, and I think making the right call.
Yeah.
Because again, they spotted him early on. But with that prio, should mean that Kanavi at the very least is going to get this top crap. Although Peanut is feeling cheeky.
He has no smite, so both of them don't necessarily know this, but it is going to be a scrap up here on that top side.
Ale Wukong vyhrává do Sejuani Oshi.
But Cream is coming over here. We'll see if they're going to be able to get full control. Yeah.
Alistar je tady, Rakan je behind.
Well from Chris, but he is very far behind the play, and Kanavi will be able to escort that crab up towards the top side.
Dobrý Delight. Hej kamo, Delight Alistar je hovado. Legit hovado. Nejlepší Alistar na světě.
And
oh, 369 going in. Zeus is just trying to take him down. Kanavi flashing forward. Zeus may have been off more than he could do.
Ty pičo, tak to bylo close jak blázen.
369 doesn't even have to flash.
Wow.
It is bloody.
It's an immediate win for Humble Life, followed up by a big win for TES. Not only does Zeus die, but he gives up the flash as well. As this was beautifully done by Delight. I think they had a suspicion, but he actually wasn't seen because there was no wave in mid. So he's able to get behind Cream and take him out. But Zeus, you knew the Sejuani was there. As Delight canceled his back.
Flash forced as well, so he stayed up there and was able to flash.
Delight forced to flash
from 369, who didn't use it in that earlier exchange.
Yeah, I imagine he was because he was channeling back, right? Well, yeah, and then he saw the TP being channeled. Was like, I can get a summoner here. Still though, 369 getting the early assist, and Kanavi picking up the early kill is nice because otherwise Humble Life I think would have gotten a gold lead here, but now.
Jak ti bylo po té žranici včera, no furt mi je blbě.
Fantastic impact from Delight. I mean, he gets up there, gets them first blood, forces the flash, you know, when your top laner is in a disadvantageous position.
A to už jsem
really,
jako,
Viper didn't fall
furt mi je blbě od
very
břicha, no.
much at all. I mean, no, he was kind of in that
A
one
nejhorší, já
for
si
a little bit
grknu
of
a
time.
cítím
Of course,
cibuli.
Chris tried to match the initial roam, but then was late. But Rakan
Asi z toho ještě burgeru, nebo já nevím. Fakt, to jsem dneska ještě neslyšel, tak jako víš jak, to se záku. Někdo se mě na to zeptá, tak odpovím. Zeus nemá flash, no, dostane. Kámo, TES hrajou dobře. Punishou okamžitě Zeusovu chybu.
And Zeus getting put forcefully behind here by continued attention from TES.
Tohle je první věc, kterou začínám vidět od TES, že je dobrá, že jako forcefully okamžitě punishujou Zeusovu chybu. A je Rakan jde na top lane a prostě ho gankou. A Zeus je inter docela na ganky, on možná jako bude intit hodně teďka.
MF sitting mid lane, may want to get involved here as well. 369 going to go for the base, so it is just going to be given over here to Peanut. Zeus is back, and they don't want to ruin their tempo. You can see Cream was sent down towards bot lane. Jackie Love moved mid, I think likely to try to play for those grubs, but they weren't really able to control the area.
As Delight, I think, did catch Crisp on the edge there. And we are just going to see continued attention towards the top side of the map. It has worked out much better for TES thus far.
0-2 Zeus. 400 gold pro Jace. Uvidíme, jak ho budou punishovat dál. Že furt nemá flash. Jdou fightit. On to bejtí. Zeus to trošku bejtil. Ale ví o tom, ví o tom. Zeka. Jackie nemá ult teďka, teda flash. Pěkný Zeka, pěkný Zeka. A proč je MF proti Azirovi a Ezreal proti Jonemu? Delight? What? A Jackie to naintí, kam ale... Wow. Tady se intí, Yoshi.
The only one that just happy, unbothered, in his lane, farming it up. And the fact that Jackie goes down, it really does kind of feel like, because again, it's one of the situations where the play towards topside is working out so well, but walking off.
Proč to dělá? Proč tradí s tím Azirem?
You're a map. You don't have a way to get out of that ultimate if he does go for you, and this has been a continued issue for Jackie.
Pak ještě dostane
as he then walks towards the brush.
Jde facecheckovat toho Azira, co dělá. Týpek je jak já, vole, říká, buff AD. AD je useless.
But it's also the top side plays have been working out so well for TES.
Exactly, right? You know, you just have to be able to give that respect over. You don't need to be the one to make the play. Things are working out great on the top side. You have this a big advantage up in top lane. And he could just be chilling and farming. If they try to put on pressure and you have the ulti under your own tower, you can just clear out a wave. You don't need to interact, but wanted to get more. And then even after losing a flash, it felt like he was trying to double down, right? He's saying, well, I already lost my flash, but maybe I can actually find the Azir here and ruin his tempo. Kanavi maybe threatening. Cream does have that Q3.
Pěkný, pěkný. Hrajou dobře. On věděl, že to přežije, když dešne. Tak to je halus. Ano, myslel si, že to no.
As we pointed out, Jackie doesn't have a flash, so especially if Zeka does have his available, Jackie basically can't go anywhere.
Mám si dát kofein a nespat, nebo si mám nedávat kofein, přežít tuhle sérii a pak usnout? Asi si nedám kofein a pak usnu.
Haven't seen. I'm looking forward towards a dragon fight where we actually get to see a possible 5v5 or 4v4 because.
Miko, čauko, jak dopadly ty fast foody? Vyhráli fast foody. Na mém IG jsem dal statistiky z dnešního spánku. Po tom, co jsem snědl fast food, já jsem jakoby nechlastal nic.
Power shot does connect, of course, a bit delayed, but knocks him down quite low. Has a teleport available, likely just going to try to take this next wave, then base. 369 does have an advantage here over in that side lane, thanks to a lot of the help from Kanavi, playing well around that top side. And we'll see if he can try to push this advantage, but they haven't had eyes, I think, on Wukong in quite some time. So 369, you know, playing respectfully to the fact that Peanut.
Já přežiju a pak půjdu spát. A pak napíšu Kapesovi a Brianovi, si teda půjdeme něco livestreamovat. Že oni chtěli do té kavárny, že půjdeme do Harry Potter kavárny. Tak můžem.
In the longer fights, can get crazy value out of that, and he scales so insanely well, particularly in the team fights. Peanut should be able to pick this one up. We'll see if he has to invest his smite. Doesn't look like he does. As a reminder, last time Kanavi got one of the grubs, he'd steal that one away with his smite, and I could see a similar trade because Prio is there, so Cream first to the play, and you have to respect this this duo threat that comes through from TES.
And we'll see if they can get a second, because if they can deny the 4, but Peanut's going to go in aggressively. Kanavi is the target.
Chce smajtnout jednoho. Nemá ho smajtnout jeho. To je dobrý kombo. Ale ne, oni vyhrávají, Hanva. To ti jebe. Ty doble, Zeus, typy first. Zeus! No nic, Jackie jde taky, kámo, Zeus je goat, kámo. A ještě zabijou 369, přes Zeka běží. Flashnul, aby ho nenechal projít back. Ty pičo, tak to ti jebe, jaký teamfight. Tady bych to potřeboval, tam se dělo tolik věcí, že to potřebuji a shutdown pro Wukonga. Wow. A to jsem si myslel, že to začíná vypadat dobře pro TES, že mají možná šanci s tímhle team kompem. Peanut jde in, Wukong ultimátka, Alistar, Delight, Sejuani. Tady dají... Jak dal cancel toho Rakana? Ani nemají damage, oni reálně nemají damage. MF nemá damage, nemají damage zatím. S těma itemama. Ta kavárna je bad, ta Harry Potter GG.
And then everything kind of follows from that. The Rumble, obviously, in these type of fights, even though he arrived.
Viděl jsi, jak jim začalo jebat, když si odešel? Neviděl. Oni streamovali dál. Oni se podle mě drží docela... když streamou se mnou, tak podle mě nejsou tak cringe. Že ví že já to nemusím moc. Ale pak odejdu a oni jedou full retard mod.
Peanut 3-0-3 is accelerated massively. He hasn't even gone back to base since that fight, so he's going to have a ton more gold to spend. Cream may be able to...
Zeus je najednou even, hlavně Wukong je 3-0-3, má Trinity Force, to je jako Wukong 1200 goldů. A Ezreal taky Trinity Force 1100 goldů. Ty vole, uvidíme, jaký drafty budou, ale tady to zatím vypadá, že to bude 3-0, pokud takhle budou fightit dobře.
Big thing there was no vision in the red side jungle, so they don't want to further commit to that with the risk of getting collapsed upon. And for TES, there is still a lot of power in this composition. I think particularly their ability to single out a target with that CCDF available between Kanavi, Cream and Crisp. They can blow up a target in very swift fashion. But one of the issues that we do have is outside of Zeus, target selection is much easier said than done. Like you say, Sichen actually
Draka nemá nikdo, nebo? Jednoho mají toho. TES, okay.
Peanut has his clone, and then Viper is Ezreal, self-explanatory, and then the final target engaging on an Alistar is always going to
Budou mít problém engageovat, no, to říká dobře ten caster. Engageovat na Ezreal Azir, ještě když to jsou korejští Ezreal Azir. Hodně těžký.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, they are really in a difficult spot now after that decisive teamfight win on the top side. I mean, really, TES comp kind of goes one way. They want to go in. They can play through sides, though, and clearly that was the plan here with the Yone and the Jace, so maybe slow things down, see if they can continue getting some picks as they were able to earlier on.
Brzo mi přijede ten stůl polhovací už, takže si to musíme postavit na streamu a já potom budu stát u toho. Tak nesedím celou dobu.
See if they can still get the feats for themselves.
Yeah, neither Zeus nor Cream have their first item done yet. With Leandris, Zeus will do a lot more.
Peanut check to get CC'd up here, but they don't have the damage. They know that the rest of HLE is around, pushing up through bot. And while they've been defending this top tower, it might actually be the bot one that could be going down here. Chris does have the ulti available. Is he going to look for an engage? Jackie moving in. They can't quite find him. Kanavi poking away, but they won't commit to it. They're just desperately trying to keep this first tower alive here, not wanting to give over that first brick.
It's also, if they do get it, a TES that is, as opposed to Hanwha, they get the feats, right? Will be a big win for them. As we do take a look at the Massacre lane economy snapshot, it's particularly the jungle AD carry that I think is the roughest here, and the Peanut one feels earned. The Viper one, Viper has just been kind of living his best life, moving around the map, picking up waves, and then in that big team fight was able to pick up a lot of exit kills, just unmatched as the
Ezreal. chodit jak herdin, no to nevím, to nevím.
On the MF, I think we were kind of skeptical.
Na ten Brian klip pak kouknu.
Domestically, we've seen it work, but thus far hasn't been able to make the impact just yet. And that's the type of wombo combo that now we're talking about, right? You need like to have Cream later, big set up, Jackie to go in huge. Otherwise, Hanwha, I think, are
jako Chris musí najít nějaký monster flank a nějak to engagenout, protože oni mají jenom Rakan engage a Seju engage. A Azir, Ezreal, Wukong se nedají engagenout. Alistar taky moc ne, když má ultimátku. A typci ho prostě najdou a čus. A oni to najítili, neblokli ultimátku. Dobrý cancel. Ej, jako nechci žrát Rakana do Wukonga a říkal jsem to v Champ Selectu. A bylo to i u Heralda vidět, kdy on prostě bloknul. LOL. Pozor, je dead? Dodgenul to krásně, ale je dead. Ale všichni tady budou dead. Dobrý Q flash, dobrý flash Viper. Budou chaseovat? Můžou? Nemůžou? Ne?
The trickster dies, but at what cost?
4K gold. Říkám na novou grafiku. Divnou ho, ne? Nedivnou. Ty vole, to ti jebe. Delight Alistar. Zeus tady moc nechtěl divovat, hoši. Zeus byl takový, nevím, jestli chci divovat, ale Delight řekl, tak vole, dej jim divovat, jsem Alistar. To bylo vidět na tom body language od toho Zeusa. Oni Peanut tady na intí, nebo na bejti se Johnny ult, dívej, s klonem. Dá klon. A oni si myslí, že to... Vidíš to, jak to udělal? Hovno. Ale umře anyway. Pak to overcommitnou, Jackie nemůže hrát proti Delightovi. A dobrý Q flash od Delighta, ale dobrý flash od Crispa. To bude rychlá 3-0. Hej, nevíme, uvidíme drafty, ale asi jo.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, not only does Jackie die there and the rest of them die, but by giving up the position in Tribrush, you sell out 369. He has nowhere to actually go, so he's just kind of given over as another freebie on top. They get first power on the top side. They're going to be grabbing this dragon here as well. Crisp in the area, Cream just trying to play through sides again, but the gold lead extending even further now. It's 4K in the advantage for HLE.
Interesting to note as well that Hanwha didn't actually go for the Rift Herald, but instead just pushed mid. So just immediately sent both the Azir and the Ezreal towards there, got that. And to be fair,
Hej, uvidíme draft 2, ale teďka tady ten draft Hanwha strašně tryhardí a uvidíme, co budou dělat potom. Jako Azir Ezreal pro Korejce je crazy. Ty co to hrajou nejlíp ze všech. Oni všeobecně Korejci jsou strašně dobří hraní v long range čampech. Strašně respektí engage a nenechají se engagenout a je to hrozně těžký proti ním hrát. Ale hodně záleží, je to game 1, ten game 1 můžou mít připravený ten draft, že jo, je to jakoby freebie. Game 2 už je fearless, takže prostě budou muset hrát něco jiného. Problém s Hanwhou je, že oni prostě fakt jsou Game 5 geniusové. Oni hráli každou sérii, co hráli v Koreji, a hráli jich kurňa hodně, tak bylo 5 her.
He's completely fine.
Yeah, he absolutely is. And Zeka and Delight, the combo is perfect. Can they actually chase after him? Zeka took about as good as he gave, so wasn't confident to actually slide in there against Cream, who still had the ulti available. But again, nicely played. Crisp gonna get pushed down to that top side as Peanut just controlling vision, working quickly towards that second item. And we were talking about this while we were watching the previous series. Wukong gets to a quick 2 items. That is just so tough to deal with in a team fight.
Dobře nabejtil Creama. A Zeus, hej, ale počkej, tady by měla být Sejuani a je dead Zeus. A TP, OK, dobrý bait. Seká se to, takže je dead. A Zeka to taky trošku intnul. Ty bylo to Sejuani damage, WTF. Trošičku intl. Oba se tam bejtili, ale trošičku to intl. Bylo obvious, že tam bude Sejuani. Nečekal podle mě ten damage.
TES have got to be happy about that. Yeah, not sure what HLE was thinking there, Zeus, because either you TP earlier if you know Kanavi's there, because they knew he was on the bottom side of the map, right? They spotted him earlier in the jungle, so either you got.
Ne, věděli, že tam ta Sejuani. Ale kdyby dal lepší Rumble ultimátku, tak ho zabije Zeus. A šel moc brzo, no.
Timing there, the back doesn't actually fully finish until he's already in the thick of it. They do have enough burst to take him down. Cream doesn't go.
Kitkový atakan bude tady hodně důležitý. 3K, plus minus 3K goldiv. Půl levelu na AD. A jinak je to skoro even, půl levelu na Zeusovi. Jediný, co je problém, je ten MF je úplně useless. MF je úplně turbo useless a Ezreal je monster feednutý. Plus Rakan taky bude dost useless do Wukonga, to si moc nezahraje.
Things like the Wukong and the Malphite always have been good into him because they can bridge the gap, right? They have multiple gap closes or away in case of Malphite just get on top immediately. So now Peanut is actually sitting on those 2 items very early on, has an incredible amount of power, and we're gonna have to see TES.
Something to Herald. They want to commit towards this tier 2, and it is already chunked down
Tier
quite
2 Herald to zabije tu tier 2. Jsem čekal. Rumble má TP, má TP. Dvakrát goldy pro Ezreala.
Playing down around that mid lane, and it's gonna be nothing more.
This is big spikes across the board, right? Like everyone besides Chris actually hitting the 2-item spike just at that point. We have the Mana transformation as well. And HLE, they don't know exactly where, but there's so much vision that they know roughly the area that they're going to be in. An Otacon bait maybe being set up here, but the next dragon is spawning as well.
Doufám, že to bude 3-0, abych mohl jít spát. V kolik jste stávali dneska, lidi?
That was placed. So pretty clever placement there from TES, whoever was able to drop that. And they're going to move forward and try to clear out some of this vision.
5, 7, 5, ve 4, v 6, 4:30, 8, 9, 7, 10, 11, 9, 8, nespal jsem. 9.
Constantly just chip and poke and prod and win out in those extended fights. It does kind of mean Zeus and Zeka are relegated to
tak jako zavírají očička, že jako
We'll see what teams are going to
padá mi hlavička, víš jak.
Third Dragon does spawn Hextech, as mentioned, insanely strong for really any composition.
Otevři si okno, měl jsem otevřený okno. Byl tady zima jako kot. Čas na kofein, ne, já nechci kofein. Já chci spát, víš, já jsem nespal moc. Tak potom si chci lehnout po streamu. Bojím se, když si dám kofein, takže neusnu, nebo to bude nekvalitní spánek. Pozor, dobrý flank od Crispa, hodně dobrý flank od Crispa. Tyhle je na půlce, pod půlkou. Vzal to rychle a tady to asi give up a poběží pryč. To byl dobrý styl TES. Šel jsem spát ve 2 ráno, ale nešlo mi vůbec usnout. Jak jsem byl přežranej toho fast foodu. Říká se, že dát si kafein na 20 minut spát, to je docela broken, protože ty než ten kofein začne fungovat, tak to taky je tak 30 minut.
And I think because Hanwha aren't yet on 3 items for a lot of these people that have the gold lead, it's not a bad idea to not force there. If you see a great opportunity, sure, go for it. But Ezreal's going to be on 3 before MF is. And you have these gold advantages, you can play towards that. So, when we see Shojin and whatnot completed, maybe they then look to fight a little bit more aggressively, and now Viper has it. So, with that 3rd item coming through, he has a pretty massive spike. You can see Zeka as well sitting on the Seekers.
Já budu jak Yamato Kanon, který spal, doslova usnul u LPL. To jste viděli, jak týpek prostě co-streamoval LPL a usnul na celou hru, spal celou hru. Prostě měl takhle zamalovanou hlavu a to bylo LCK, ne? To mám pocit, že to bylo je to jedno, co to bylo, actually. Prostě týpek co-streamuje, má zalomenou hlavu a spí. Cream. Ezreal ho chytne, Alistar ho chňapne. Boom, flash, to bylo moc, to bylo moc, to bylo moc. Ale Delight je nesmrtelný, ne, vole. Jebe, ale jdou moc deep, moc deep.
Key targets, it's just on delay. Still, I think you have to be pretty happy about getting Cream out and having 369 pushing on the other side.
TES, Halva Life, they keep looking for that knockout punch, but they're not finding it.
And it's actually key to note, Viper flashed to try to follow up. It wasn't just a light trading his flash out there.
Jako tohle Delight s Viperem do Intily, tam jako flashou prostě moc deep. Atypická chyba, atypická chybínka.
It does open up potential opportunity to maybe get a kill on Viper, maybe take that big shutdown away and start pulling the game back in your favor.
One of the big things with the Ezreal is that you have the one flash on a very low cooldown, but we have seen Ezreals actually get caught in a position where just having access to one is not enough, and a dive for TES is actually very threatening.
Is always dangerous.
Not only that, right? If Cream can
Včera to nikdo nesně, ten fast food, nikdo. Bylo toho moc zbytečně.
I think posturing pretty aggressively as look at this. TES just keep
Jo, takhle kitkový Atakana. Jo, a Viper zonuje, on má 3 itemy, forsují na 3 itemech. A Zonia jsou smart, kámos. Azir má Zoniu a Ezreal 3 itemy a forsují na tom. Protože tady by vyhráli fight, to je hodně chytrý od Hanvy. Ty vole, a forsují i Barona, to je blbost. To je jenom Cream Pouko dělal. Sleduj, oni mají prostě... Zeus nemá ten? Nemá. Chycený. Ale TP, Azir je in. Ale 369 taky tipnul. Cream minus. Ale jak chytrý jsou Hanva, že prostě v momentě, kdy dostaví 3 itemy na Ezrealovi a MF má jenom 2. A Azir má 2 itemy a Zoniu, tak oni insta forsují Atakana. Insta. Protože ta šance toho, že tam vyhrajou fight, je mnohonásobně větší. Jediný Jace je 1,3k golů a Heta to nevadí. Oni takhle začnou forsovat i Barona, jo, protože mají level 16 a Ezreal Azir. Kámo, jebe jim. Oni jsou blázni. Alistar vyhodí toho, ne? Sejuani se snaží.
This fight does not look close. It's HLE running over TES. It's HLE looking for more. Viper now on an angle, flashed in, though is 369. It's going to be Cream trying to make something happen.
Dragoši, vy jste nejlepší hráči na planetě. Týpci prostě furt zase mají 3 itemy a zase to forsujou. Protože oni furt nemají 3 itemy. Oni to tak hrotí ty 3 itemy, protože když se podíváš, tak prostě Cream a Jekyllov nemají 3 itemy na keríčkách. Zeka, Viper mají 3 itemy a ty týpci forsujou Baron, Atakan, všechno okamžitě. To ti jebe, oni jsou tak dobří, to je šílený. A hlavně tak decisive. Jako tohle je statement hra, kámo. Ty pičo, jako mám husinu z téhle hry. What the fuck. To je jako...
TES had a strong early game, but couldn't find the correct targets in those 5v5s. It never felt like they were able to really pressure Zeka or pressure Viper. They were always hitting frontliners. And Peanut got a fantastic early lead, was able to help really snowball this game. The light was everywhere early on.
Zeus to trošku pointil, ale to je irrelevant, protože stejně bude Rumble a zaultí a bude mít krásnou ultimátku, ale výborný draft. Výborný teamfighty. Jako to, co tam převádí Zeka, je úplně insane. Nerf mid lane, fast. Oni mají strašně moc tools, ty midaři, ne? Jako prostě oni jsou hypercarry, mají 2x víc AD než AD a potom dělá tohle, ten týpek prostě dashne do 4 a one-shotne. Crazy. Kde je Tomáš? Toto by mal sledovat s námi. Tomáš, nevím, poslední dobou je takovej divný. Já mám pocit, že musím jít na záchod po druhé, hoši. Jdu to tam zkusit po druhé. Už jsem jako byl na velký, ale mám pocit, že musím znova, takže brb.
Puppy, why don't you take my keys and go for a ride?
Welcome, Stella.
So you talk.
Stella?
Almost. What's next? Bright blue. It's bold.
Sorry, hon.
I'm hungry, actually. Your favorite, right?
How did you know?
No, jsem tu. Jaký to bylo? V poho. Nic se nestalo. Přežil jsem to. Vám musím pouštět nějaký songy tady, protože mě mají vyplý. Nebo jako tady jsou vyplý, aby nebyl copyright.
Já si myslím, že asi teoreticky mám prostě nejlepší. Že
Jste mohli, tak já tam objednávku 22.
Kámo, to ti jebe. Brian tam prostě fakt krysácky šel za tím manažerem a řekl, ať mu tam dají co nejvíc jalapeňos. Tak to ne. Pálí prdel? Nepálí překvapivě. No, hele, mám pocit, já se podívám, co je v pondělí. Je něco v pondělí? Já si dám day off asi v pondělí, hoši. Nejde nic, já normálně teďka úplně grindu jak blázen. Pondělí day off, úterý, středa jak snapil kotel. Dobré. Flakač CZ, jo. Jen každý den v podstatě streamu od 8 ráno do půlnoci. Flákač CZ.
Welcome back to First Stand 2025. HLE leads TES 1-0 in a decisive opener for the last series of the day. Mood check for you guys. You know what?
Dneska bude stream s kapesníkem. Já si půjdu lehnout. Já budu jako low-key doufám, že bude 3-0. Že bude 3-0 tady. Já půjdu okamžitě spát. 2 hodiny si lehnu. Usnu na 2 hodiny. A pak se zbudím. A pak se domluvím s kapesníkem a Brianem, si půjdeme někam. Nebo budeme něco dělat. Na Snapy od koncert Dash, jo.
I think top esports have really hammered down on them during this tournament. So hopefully, you know, a bit of life there, more than we've seen.
All right, but I feel like HLE managed to seal the game and seal the deal quite early in the game as Peanut flew in, backed up with a clean ult from theirs and secured the grabs in the HyperX reflex replay.
2 hodiny, jo. No, však si bucnu na 2 hodiny, Shaolin, co je za problém? Pohodička, ne? Můj gameplay je dát si Billyho monstra, zapít to Billy monstrem a dát si Spinks na půl hoďky a pak dát další Billy monster.
And this is really where the game opens up because as
Vika, čauko, hele no.
It actually wasn't going so badly for top.
Včerejší fast food mě dostal v podstatě. Bolí mě břicho a nevyspal jsem se vůbec. A je strašně zajímavý, že já jsem jakoby, já mám Aura Ring, jo. A ty statistiky toho spánku, co mám, tak byly jak když chlastáš alkohol, tak máš strašně malý HRV a vysoký heartbeat ve spánku. A ironicky, já jsem včera nepil alkohol, měl jsem jenom fast food. A měl jsem stejný statistiky, jako kdybych byl vožralej kokot, nebo jako kdybych byl na nějaký party a vožral se.
It just feels like a hard pick to get value on this game, and it just felt like the pace was dictated by HLE from after that point, and these team fights were so crisp.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talk about Jackie Love's MF specifically,
nejsi zvyklý. Já si prostě myslím, hej, třeba to není o tom být zvyklý, třeba fast food je prostě jet pro to tělo. Plus není mě 18, abych spal na zemi a žral mekáč. Chápeš? To je blbost, jo. Krokodýla musím naexpit, no, někdy. Já bych dal ale Trodony. Dal bych Trodony. Raději.
You know, it was a rough first game, but also not anything unexpected based on their performance at this tournament.
Still, I like the signs of life, glimmer of hope that we just mentioned here. And as the 2 TES experts, for better or worse, I would like you to tell me what is the hope and where is the hope?
Co jste dělali se zbytkem jídla? No ta kapesová specialita, ta se vyhodila podle mě. Ale Brian si schoval burgeříček a i stripsíky a bude to papat.
Dan and I both watch them domestically. We have this list of what we wanted from TES because, like I said yesterday, I always feel like I'm taking crazy pills when I watch them domestically and then they come to every international event and don't do well and severely underperform. So we made a list of a few things that we actually do think they're good at
domestically. Třeba do 2 odpoledne někdy, a i do 1. Podle mě bude spát tak do 12.
We didn't forget it.
Yeah, it is getting advantages from lane swaps and lane assignments. Obviously lane swaps are dead, so we can just blot that out.
All right,
but
no
it was some of their mid-game lane assignments, right? Like I talked about cross-map trading. Team fighting has been really bad at this event.
Yeah.
And then neutral objective setups have also not been good, as, again, Dan already pointed out. HLE were really able to dictate the pace of the game completely after that grub fight.
Yeah, and I feel like the thing is it's
Tomáš s náma nebyl včera, no. Kámo, ale ten winning, viděli jste ten stream z winningu? Já ti říkám, já jsem...
It's a big stretch. Something I will say though, I don't know if you're aware of this, but HLE...
Pokud si chcete najít holku a jste z Brna, choďte do Winning Fitness. GG easy. Ty holky tam normálně hantí chlapy sami. Tam byla týpka, která se bavila se všema.
You lose game 1, you're against the game 1 team. You win the next 3, don't let it go to a game 5, and then you got it in the bag.
Ale špatně se tam jako cvičí, protože ty holky se prostě namalujou a oblíknou do spodního prádla, reálně prostě cvičí ve spodním prádle.
Gonna go on the blue side here. I just want to follow up. You were talking
Takže tam chodit nebudu, protože se tam prostě se nedá cvičit.
Start on the right foot here. It took them a bit of time to get the ball rolling. And I remember that yesterday we were just talking about Zeus maybe not.
A s tebou se nějaká bavila,
with the rest of the team. And Zeka yesterday during the interview was telling us that Zeus is such a strong player that you cannot predict what he will put on the table, and especially in the draft. And I have my eyes on Zeus for this series, for the plethora of champions that he can.
No ale když budu mít pupek a zvedu 10 kg na bench, tak za mnou asi moc nepůjde. Tak musíš chodit do jiného gymu a až začneš zvedat dardy, tak chodit do toho gymu. Tak, vyřešeno.
But some picks, it feels like he is kind of just flexed on his opponent. But I think the thing that is just so inherently true is he has a very deep champion pool. He is very proficient on a range of styles, and he is a menace to go up against.
Yeah, and I think here you can also see the spread of picks as well, right? So it's a bunch of different play styles that he can fit into any composition.
So far, it is HLE's tournament. It was HLE's game 1. So let's see if TES, as my analysts said, are going to bring up the hope for the team and take game 2. What do they have to add here? Casters, take it away.
That's the question. What do they have to add? And I think my answer after game number 1 is better team.
Proč tam mají accept the queue? Oni začnou tu hru a mají tam jakoby accept queue, není to... To tak nefunguje na TR-ku. Ta hra začne hned a nemáš tam accept queue.
It's as Ox was saying, just win the next 3.
That's
and
easy,
you're golden. Obviously doing that is going to be much easier. Yeah, much easier said than done. The one point that I do want to highlight is that I think roster that's been underperforming, Kanavi has been one of the biggest ones. I think that was a better game from him.
Yeah.
Was able to actually have a really big impact early on. Was able to, I think, have some great ultimates as well. Just wasn't quite enough. And we're going to have to see TES step it up as a team. Cream, even on
tak, popis Skynerban.
We know he can pilot, just didn't really seem to hit the mark. And yeah,
Kalista, okay.
Everyone has said enough about the Jekyll FMF performance. That to me was the most egregious one, because on the other end of the map, TES were actually getting decent trades, but then you would look mid and Jackie would flash and then face check a brush.
Yeah, that's tough for sure. Delight Alistar is just always such a treat to watch. It feels like the headbutt goes further, the pulverize is larger. It's just crazy. He always seems to find the perfect angles.
Never has flash cooldown either. I don't know how that works.
That is just not fair. We can see some of the bans coming through. Kalista going to be staying on the ban list for now. Mbessa, Poppy, Skarner, and Gnar all going to be joining that ban list. Kalista, while it is incredibly high prio, the times it's let through, it only has 1 win actually so far. Got that win earlier today, but it's 1-4 so far in the tournament. When it comes through, it feels like teams have just kind of laid the answer for it. which is always interesting to me. You know, if you are playing a best of 5, sometimes it can be powerful, especially if you're starting on the red side, you're playing more games on red side. Hey, maybe, you know, you let something through and you try to lay one of those traps. You don't have so many required bans, but instead it's going to be Aurora here as that final ban, and we'll see where TES wants to take us.
Respect being paid towards Cream, even though, again, has had a rough one in the tournament. One of the earlier
Aurora
games,
has just had a rough one in the tournament.
Hej, rozdáme nějaký KitKat bedding, jo? Zase.
I remember the first Aurora game he played.
Já jsem byl, a jsem si zapomněl zapnout YouTube chat. My bad.
One pick that we have seen be prioritized, even often when we do see the Kalista, this is the thing that you get for it in return. Is going to be both a great takeaway from Viper as well as a good pickup here for
Tak
Jackie.
už vás vidím
Ash
YouTube.
is something that we often
Varus
see
first pick, okay.
as the next pick, as a response into it.
Klasika.
We're very early on, so that's really pick of the litter when it comes to AD carries.
Ezreal je out, MF je out.
Of course. I mean, we were kind of talking through this even when we got to game 5. There are still so many AD
Viper
carries
asi
that
nehraje
we
Ash,
really
ne?
think of as pretty
Budou hrát
powerful, available.
Vitalia, že by
It's gonna
hráli,
be the
třeba.
Paina by a lot of people
Jako
really not a fan of
Vitalia je
this pick,
prostě
but
dobré
Paina
kombo,
has
no,
been
ale
making it
většinou
work.
to hrajou
You
spíš
have that
Evropani.
dive, it can be very difficult for Varus.
Ash
If you want
Vi,
to go
okay.
tonight, it's just going to get smited off, and then you're going to be hit by that ulti. Ash comes through, as you were talking about, and could have implications for the drafts going on further, because Ash and Varus are the two
Kde
picks
jsou
that
sásky,
you've
já
been using
potřebuji
to actually beat the
gambu.
Kalista.
Koukne nějaký
So, you know,
moderátor.
you can't really
Frosa troval.
leave that Kalista
Tak
off the
jestli
ban
můžu
list if some of these
poprosit je
answers
dát
aren't there.
sásky.
So, could be something to watch out for in the future games.
The only other pick that I would think they could pick up, given that the Vi was picked, was something like the Kai'Sa. Obviously, your laning phase is going to be sacked, but it does synergize well. This gives you a lot more pressure options, and Humble Life...
Jako Peanut umí hrát Vi, hodně dobře.
Depending on how TES draft,
Ne jak
probably save counterpick for Zeus, but there is an opportunity to get counterpick for the
Ale tady
as
to
well.
vypadá, Sylas, tady to vypadá jako test draft zase, jakoby jak čínský draft. Zinzao, Sylas, Varus, permafight early game, permafight mid game.
On a lot of other style of champions as the Sylas coming through blind as
Akali.
This is a banger
Ne.
matchup. This is like the
Akali, Sylas.
It's the
Čauko, Svoby, čauko. Svoby má ban na Twitchu, tak používá YouTube. Nice.
Also,
Zeka, some
Zeka,
mid laner who was pretty good who won that year.
we might get some evidence. Zeka has been known to like his own skin a lot, but that is an explosive matchup. Can go either way depending on the execution, depending on the early jungle attention, and that is... Those are some banger 2v2s that we have there. Zinzao and Sylas obviously insanely strong, but...
Proč na YouTube nestreamuješ 1440p kvůli bitrateu? Já mám 1080, já mám Full HD rozlišení a nepoužívám 1440p. Ale bitrate je 15 000 lahves.
So goes the mid jungle 2v2, could go the game. We'll have to see.
Svoby musíš si založit jiný účet, no, prostě srát na to založit si druhý. Nebo já nevím.
The karma here for HLE as well as the Braum taken away by TES.
Twitch je prostě v tomhle úplně divný.
I think they're gonna probably, knowing Humble Life, go for something like an Aatrox here on 4, blind for Zaze, and they get counterpick for Delight. Do note, they don't ban the Renata. I think Renata has been a pick that is insanely strong, but there have been a number of decent counters. The Nico first and foremost that we have seen in it.
Struggles into range for sure.
And that always makes it kind of awkward to pick up blind, but if you save your counter pick, then obviously Humble Life have the opportunity as there is the Renata. Okay, so TES don't want to get into that whole situation. Might mean that we just see, what, like a Nautilus pickup here to go together with the Vi.
I mean, we have 6, 7 supports, if you want to call the Poppy already taken off the table because of all these support bans.
Ale staré out, Rakan je out.
Last game, so a lot of those primo options are gone. Things like Nautilus, though, still available.
Leona
is gone from last game, of course.
je out, Karma je out.
You know, there are some of those big picks, but we'll see what
Nautilus nebudou brát, to není good.
Is it going to be something like the
A hlavně Sylas by měl Nautilus ultimátku. Rel. Jsem úplně zapomněl na Rel, WTF.
And honestly, who can blame them? Zeus has just been so damn good. We saw what he did, you know, with the Rumble, obviously with Grey early. Now the Nautilus will be taken away on the other side.
To dává smysl.
So both supports getting their hands on some of those really high tier engaged
blind pick Renekton.
And it will be the Renekton blind.
Tohle je TES early mid game fight complex svině. TES chcou fightit každý early objective a mid game objective. Každý.
This matchup blinded into him. And does Zeus have the confidence to just slam it down right here in game 2 against TES? Will it be something a little bit more stable as you were expecting?
Well, the comp is already inherently volatile, right?
Jax je open.
I think you're kind of priced into that.
Jax je hodně nebezpečný. Mají moc CC na Jaxe.
Make it even more volatile. It's not. It's going to be
Aatrox.
Just going back to his Aatrox. The only player that we've seen consistently look good on this pick obviously has had a good amount of variety in his builds as well. In this one, I expect it just to be the standard, you know, Bruiser Aatrox. We've seen some Cycloblade. We haven't seen the Electrocute variant in a while. Both of these two compositions,
TES tady má, jako hele, jestli TES nevyhraje, tuhle tu hru s tímhletím draftem, protože neříkám, že mají lepší draft, ale mají piky, které jsou pro ně strašně komfort. Že prostě jako s těma pikama to je komfort. A v momentě, kdy to nevyhraju nebo nebudou hrát dobře, tak je to 3-0. Jako s ekama taky, víš co, komfort, ale prostě ne, v životě, když by mi někdo řekl, hele, jak vypadá dobrý čínský draft, tak ti řeknu tady tohle, co mají TES. Spoiler alert, Casey vyhrálo nad Ústřicema 3-2, bylo 5 her.
Always going to be standing behind them, but TES has some supporters out there as well, and it has been fun to see a lot of the international fans showing up for their teams, even here in Korea.
Oh, I'm glad to see that the fan signs on either side don't disappoint. Some beautiful drawings here.
Yeah, that's crazy.
As
I can do a stick figure. You know, like one of the little suns in the corner with a couple lines.
I am also not necessarily that gifted or practiced, depending on how you look at that creatively. As yeah, this is very straightforward. Whichever comp rolls ahead is going to have a really good time. Whichever comp falls behind is going to have the worst of times. And we'll see what we're going to get here.
Ze včera říznul na střelnici. Je to hrozný, že mám ten palec úplně k hovnu, nedá se používat.
Decisively favored towards one team.
Yeah.
Dnes si neobjednáš KFko, hej, já fast food nechci vidět dalších x měsíců minimálně. Je mi zle. A doufám, že Kapesovi je taky zle a že už nesáhne na fast food.
Just a little.
Exactly, but you know, this gives Zeus that opportunity to kind of go out on his own and
KFko je třeba dobrý, kámo, KFko. Mě teda nechutná, mě jediný, co mě chutná v KFku, tak je Grander Texas. Za mě Grander Texas je prostě mega dobrý burger, ale jinak mě tam nic nechutná v KFku. A ještě ty bramborové lupínky jsou dobrý. To je dobré, ale jinak všechno ostatní je humus. A mekáč je taky humus. Mekáčů jsou jenom hranolky dobrý. Svoby mě je zle doteď. Reálně doteď mi je zle z toho fast foodu. Ale já jsem jak Broken Harmonica, já to tady opakuju jako god.
And again, as you highlighted, even the way that they made it through groups was something that wasn't very convincing.
No, I mean, it was kind of out of their own hands, right? They were hoping for a little help from HLE.
Jak ty chutná český fast food, nechutná. Oproti Americe. Tak v Americe měli jiný fast food úplně. To byly jako luxusní fast foody, jakoby. Třeba menší chick. Nejlepší fast food. A nebo In-N-Out. Mega. Cream je dead? Kámo, co? Co je Creame? Bracho.
Crisp hadn't actually won it since he won Worlds back in 2019. So it had been a long time for these guys who are obviously still world champions, obviously still, you know, at that top level, but hadn't been having the same level of regional success. So I think there was that kind of buzz around TES that isn't always there because they have that reputation as, you know, not always meeting up to the expectations internationally, but this time
Shake je taky dobrý. Jo, je, ale jenom na East Coastu. Z nějakého důvodu. Na West Coastu je Shake Shack, stojí za hovno. Nevím proč.
As Zeka is indeed playing his own skin. And that's why I think this game in particular just matters so much, right? Being able to at least bring it to a 1-to-1 makes the series feel a lot more playable, given that TES in their losses have just been swept, right? It's been something, or at least at first stand, obviously, been something that really has been plaguing them. When first match goes awry, they just kind of fall apart.
That's just sick, man.
Five Guys je OK, ale strašně předražený v Americe.
He's also up a wave and forced a flash. We didn't really mention it too much, but not going to be feeling too bad as doesn't even feel the need to invest.
Five Guys budou v Praze, OK.
He makes his way back to the wave.
Yeah, you can see Peanuts down on that bottom side, grabbing the scuttle. It's going to be spotted out, but they're going to be going in. It is going to be Crisp. That's the target.
Crisp má flash, ale asi Detonometrovat, ne? Je Detonometrovat. Ale Detonometrovat. Ale dobrý sidestep, ale prostě byl too deep.
This can't keep happening. There have been so many of this exact play at first stand, right?
Kámo, ale Crisp, ty botlinky na tom first standu jsou fakt všechny bad, ne? Mně nepřijde, prostě Viper Delight jsou dobrá botlinka, jediná. Už jsi měl Popeyes, neměl jsem Popeyes. A ani Viper Delight mi nepřijde jako, že Turbo 1v9, ale možná je to tou metou, že prostě ty nedokážeš dát Turbo 1v9 za botlane teďka. Takže jako teďka 1v9 turbo role jsou mid jungle top. Na tom vždycky dokážeš dát 1v9, když jsi třeba Zeus, tak dáš 1v9 vždycky. To stejný Zeka.
Zeka keeping the lane in an awkward spot there. Delight will spot Kanavi. Kanavi is going to get a ward for his troubles. As we have seen these swaps come through very consistently from either team. Levels thus far, no crazy leads. Just at main goal difference that we see is just the kill that Peanut was able to pick up. Sitting on that early tunneler, always going to be feeling great.
And you can see Zeus was actually taking a lot of minion damage there, trying to hold it off the tower. Peanut, we know, is going down towards that bottom side.
Někdo padlo KC. No, vyhráli proti Ostřici. První dvě hry vyhráli, pak to bylo 2-2 a pak vyhráli pátou. A ta pátá byla, kámo, close jak svině. Tam, kdyby neudělali jednu chybu, Ústřice tak vyhráli. Normálně Kanada 1v9 jako legit.
Wave was crashed in, but now it could be problems here for Jackie Love. Zeus is very low, but they're likely to
dostal ultimátku, přesně na ultimátku. Bro, to je unlucky. Flash nás zabijel. Tohle bylo pixel perf a on přežije. Jak to? What? Ok, on je nějak rychlej, ten má boty. Má boty.
As Jackie does stave off his death, also trades flash for flash, so doesn't actually end up going down. In that end, they are getting the grubs towards the top side of the map.
To bývá, kdo udělá chybu, prohraje. No, Kalista tam dvakrát chouknul teamfight, dvakrát umřel první v teamfightu a stejně vyhráli. To tak nebývá. Záleží, jaká chyba. V jaký situaci, v jakém kompu, jaký scaling. Hoši, Akali není. Silas Akali je skill matchup, to není counter matchup.
Trade. I think TES not going to be too sad.
Pretty aggressive move here from Delight. Going to commit the ignite already, but the rest of the team is actually coming in first. Kareem is here, stolen ulti from the Akali. But Zeka arrives, Peanut arrives, and they are
lidi tady jsou grupy, ale.
Viper has moved down from top lane and is around here. 4v4.
Oni resetnou red buff, aby ho nemohli smajtnout a budou možná fightit, one-shotnou něco. Ty vole, dobrý skvé. OK, Zeka. Tady to actually, Zeka má ult. A naintil. Zeka to naintil, hoši. Ty kokos. Ty debile, a on dal skrz... On s tou Vi zabil skrz Ečko Zina. Tak tohle bylo cinema, hoši. To bylo cinema. Dobrý cancel z Crispa na Real. To cancelnul... Kdo to cancelnul? Hook? Jo, on hooknul Real, to bylo huge. A pak Zeka tady hraje dobře, ale potom tady na Inti. A Ash Flash není nic, no. A škoda. Tady to bylo close, kdyby trefil ultimátku, tak tam zabije 2 lidi. A tak to, když by trefil tu ultimátku na něco.
That was so big as well. The side step from Kanavi there, because Zeka doesn't have vision, so he's predicting that he's continually moving to the side there. So he uses the stolen R2, as we are on this replay, and
okay, but
vysvětlíš nám, proč ti kapesník tak glazoval péro. Hej, já nevím, ale oni se nešli, já jsem byl jediný, kdo se šel sprchovat po tom gymu, já je prásknu, to jsou prostě prasátka.
Gets a good initial trade, but Zeka able to hit him with a shuriken flip and trades back quite well. Zeka now getting low. We can see Peanut over the wall and Delight here to cover once again as Viper down towards that bot side, catching the wave that has been pushed up from 369. And it is both teams very, very even. 100 gold separating the two squads. We are pretty much dead even, neck and neck. And the question remains, can TES turn that into a team fight victory? That is what they were lacking in game number 1. Can they execute
sprchuje po gymu, no.
Performance that we've been waiting to see from Jackie, who has been
dobrý, no.
so stellar in his own league and just hasn't been able to actually bring that to first stand thus far.
Cream also going to be feeling a lot better after what was a rough Yone game on the Silas. Thanks to picking up those early kills, even with the CS disadvantage, still up a good amount of gold. And there is, as we talked about, whichever team gets ahead, as we'll see.
6-9 going to pop the Dominus, but doesn't have vision, can't actually chase. It might result in a plate or two. Crisp going to be looking here. Kanavi, not sure if he was actually spotted by that ward. I don't know if they saw him right around the corner, but it is going to be
game even v podstatě.
Oh, another 4v4.
Co tam dělá ten Renekton na top lane?
Cream is looking to try to get involved here as well. 369 still up on that top side. Delight has an angle. Viper section off from the squad, though. This could be a little bit difficult here from HLE.
Okay, Karis dobrý engage. Dobrý arrow. Wow, to byl huge arrow. Pane bože, já zase to tady acenou. To ti jebe, kámo. To ti jebe. Ale jaký arrow na Jekyllova.
Cream will survive for now, but we'll see if he can even get out. Peanut is hunting, and Cream is on the wrong side of the map. He's gonna try to make a run for it, but Peanut has the ball breaker.
A Peanut zase 5-0, kámo. Já ti říkám, Peanut prostě na Vi je něco jiného. Jak Vi a Peanut Vi, to je, vole, day and night. Engage ne. On najde Varuse a oni chain CCčnou Varuse až ultimátkou. A Zeka tam dá damage ultimátkou na všechny, ty pičo, to je jako crazy, no.
Doesn't actually remain
back
there.
To live. 369 looking for a solo kill. Zest has already flashed out. And is he going to be able to finish him off? Doesn't look like he's going to commit. Delight moving up here. Crisp is around as well. And will be pushing back. Trade of flashes between them, but to me, so much of it was about the angle that Viper found off of vision, finds the arrow.
Nevím, když vidím Jakava a když vidím prostě, je to šílený. 5-0 Vi.
Well, particularly with the flash down, playing that early skirmish is really hard.
Ale to je crazy, že oni prohrávají ty fighty, ale ty prostě prohráváš fighty z Varus, Nautilus, Silas, Xin, Zhao, early game. To jako v ten moment prostě si myslím, že nemůžeš vyhrát. To je unplayable.
Looking at the itemization, Cream actually sitting on a fully completed item. A lot of components for Zeka, as we have both the Morellos for Zeka as well as the Executioners for 369 to deny the healing of the Aatrox and the Silas respectively. And so the thing with Vi that's always really interesting to me is that I think it feels better to play into a fed Vi than a fed Wukong. The problem is there was one player
Both
for which
still feel bad.
Don't get me wrong.
It feels better to have a broken arm than a broken leg.
Well, I'm an optimist, Azil. Sue me. But the real issue, as I think we saw in that fight as well, is that for one player, that is
Drak a Gruby za
3,5.
The guy who dies every single fight.
There's gonna be some,
ale Tess mají blíž k botám.
For Jackie it is.
You know, well, for Jackie it actually is. Because you know that there could be the whole team.
Nebo viděl jsem správně?
I don't know.
True. You're not wrong. Wukong kind of like a AoE Vial.
Tess mají totiž 6 grubů, no.
Fair enough.
Počkej, ale 6 grubů je docela huge, what the fuck, to jsem se ani nevšiml.
I don't feel like you're with me, Azil.
6 grubů pro Renektona je sideline pressure jak blázen. I Silas.
I'm just, you know, I'm fighting the good fight for all the
Ale zatím dobře defujou.
But what about the Varus?
Yeah, well, I don't think...
Because he is going to get R'd, and then he's going to get punched, and then he's going to be dead.
Either AD carry is going to have to play an extremely clean game here to have a good time, right?
Where's the backup AD carry for when the first one dies?
Yeah, neither of them have any.
No backup AD carry.
Chtěl by to monstříček na spánok. Já tady mám kofein, tady mám kafe, mám tady Prodigy od Vilgainu. Takže jako bych si mohl dát kofein, ale já přemýšlím, že prostě já doufám, já věřím Hanvě, že to bude 3-0. Abych mohl jít spát. Protože když bych si dal kofein, tak neusnu.
And Peanut now out on the map here, incredibly strong. They are going to find him. Will they be able to burst him down? Delight in a lot of trouble, incredibly low. The Ignite is committed. Kanavi should be able to get him. The depth charge does follow.
Ty vole, dobrý snipe od Kanaviho, ale tady je Zeka, pozor. Tady je Zeka. Musí one-shotnout, dobrý arrow, ale musí one-shotnout Zina. A misnutej shuriken, ne, on šel na Crispa. Ej, Zeka, pomož Peanutovi, to jste naintili. Ježíš, Viper. OK, Viper. Ty, oni to naintili. Jo. Peanut byl 5-0, umřel, dal shutdown komu? Tady to docela, počkali si na Delighta. Tady to byl divný fight, jak to zahrál Zeka. Dobrý snipe od Kanavi, dobrý. A oni jdou do... Neví do koho jít, měli jít do Zina, podle mě. Ale split focus, no, split focus jak blázen. A pak ho tam nechá. To je právě mega bad, že ho tam nechali. Zin dal shutdown, OK.
And Cream got ISO gold on top lane tower while we're watching in the picture-in-picture. Last game, he was, really kind of put out of it. This time, he's in a much stronger position. He's up 550 gold, even with a bunch of kills being grabbed there by Zeka. So has the ability to potentially carry. They grab the feats as well, so they have the upgraded boots now through
here. Mají boty, tohle byl docela velký int od Hanvey.
It is top and mid. The big advantages here for TES.
And the big thing here is that yes, Jekyllov had to use his flash, but
teď je to zase úplně even. Nebo TES je dokonce 6 goldů ahead, ale jakoby na fight power podle mě je to even. Ale je podle mě šílený to, že teďka na jednom itemu, na 2 itemech budou silnější TES. Na 3 itemech už mi přijde, že bude silnější Hanva.
Other times they have been pretty good. Sometimes you got the Ivern, you got the Lulu.
A pak na 4 itemech taky Hanva. No a pak to outscale Hanva, no.
Oh, take that tower, take my jungle camps. But other times it's tough out there. Could be the struggle.
This is, you're not giving anything. You have to fist fight for every single bit of gold that you get. As Cream.
You want that quarter on the ground, you got to fight to the death for it.
Okay, you're not getting that quarter for free. As the Dragon now getting started up. Feats are here as a committal of a life.
Arrow going to be able to tag Chris. Zeka has an angle here, but Chris not the target that he wanted. The TV's going to come in as well, but this is Cream.
Aatrox žije, ale zatím žije Aatrox, flashuje. Tady ty fighty jsou nebezpečný. Varus chytnutý. Aatrox žije celou dobu. Aatrox healing 500 auto-attackem. Ty pičo, Zeus, ty blázne. Zeus posmurfil, kámo. To, co tam potankoval ten Magor. On prostě neumíral nikdy. Ty pičo, tak tyhle fighty jsou jako crazy, tam se děje tolik věcí v tom fightu. Ty vole, ale Aatrox vydržel strašně dlouho, OK, nemají arrow, ten arrow byl moc. Zeus celou dobu žije, dívej, Zeus celou dobu žije. Zeka v backlineu, tam smurfí. Ale zase chytli Varuse, ten Varus si nezahraje, protože dokud nebude mít Edge of Night. Varus potřebuje Edge of Night, protože Vi prostě... Ale i s Edge of Nightem si nezahraje, on ji za ulti a dá smite. S tou Vi. To je hrozný. Viper, sorry. Chtěl by to anti-heal proti tomu Aatroxovi. No mají 2 anti-healy. A nefunguje to. Týpek se healuje za 500 anyway.
Look at Cream, just couldn't really get anything done. I mean, Jackie as well got targeted so early. Viper was the difference, standing and firing, even with 369 having a heroic performance. I mean, Cream TP's in, immediately has to flash and abscond out.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have his spells, right? He's just trying to get back and get involved. But when you spend the flash and you spend the E, just arriving to not instantly die because of poor TP placement, all of a sudden Viper's eyes light up. He says, "You don't have your spells? I don't
Trochu
need
mě
spells.
nepřekvapuje, že nemám hlad. Po včerejšku vůbec.
Lethal tempo all over him.
Exactly. And TES, the game still feels very different, I think, from the previous one where it was back and forth. But the team fights have been closer this time around. This was the first one where it did feel like Hanwha was able to get a trade, but even then, it was a lot more contentious. Flash is going to be almost available and TES.
Jo, ale tady zkouší divenout Zeuse, ale Ash tady má move a Pina tu je. To nemůžou, ne? To ti jebe, ne? Toto. Delight se nechává chytnout, ale so far in. Zeka TP. Tady je mrtvej Kanavy. Aatrox to naintil. Vaj zase našla Varuse, kámo, co ti jebe, to nejde hrát. Buff AD. Prostě Vaj za ulti Varuse a nejde to hrát. A týpek tam, a Akali tam dá 1v4 quadrakill. To je šílenost. Sleduj, jo? Sleduj. Kanavy strašně jdou deep, oni fight strašně deep. Kanavy to naintí s Crispem, oni ho zabijou tam, jo, tady když koukáš na vrch. Ale teď sleduj, jo, že tam Kanavy je dead, ale teď sleduj Zeuse. Zeus to naintí taky, dostane one shot. A teď Vi ult na Jackie Lava. Bang, čus, bang, one-shotného týpka, 1v3 ho one-shotné. Jak broken je jungle. Ty vole hoši, to je crazy. Jako Akali. Málo kdo hraje Akali, ale Akali je vždycky broken. A Jake se musí naučit hrát Vi od Pinata. To je neuvěřitelný. Když si myslím, že to celý vyhraje. Předtím, než se hrál první zápas, tak jsem říkal, Hanwha vyhraje celý turnaj. Snad mu spadl stream, tak jsme tu. Čauko, ličauko. A myslím, že to nahodí zpátky, takže nebojte. Zeus je punching back, no, ale trošku to intí a hlavně ty vole. Ten healing kick. Hej, ta Vi má 10 killů. A Zeus žije. Springy, dík za 15, chlape. Ale ono dožene Kanavy, podle mě. On ho nemůže najít. Ježiš, to je GG. A mají Atakana, to je GG. Ta hra je over. HLE are running the map again. 10-1-8 Vi. Marek Járo, děkuji za 2 měsíce, děkuji za ty subíky. Sbíráme subíčky teďka pravidelnou podporu, takže děkuji všem. Kitkovej atakan pro Vi, Akali, Aatrox. Kámo, oni prostě toho Zeuse chcou ho. Ale jako hej, je dead, ale to ti jebe. Pičo tam, týpek tam prostě hodil Neo z Matrixu. Víš co úplně? Dodging ty bullets. Arrow? Vedle? TP, hej, ta Vi je zatím nesmrtelná. Vysvětli mě. A co tam dává za Akali za damage? It's Jackie on the side, gonna get knocked down, punched into outer space by Peanut. 11-1-10 Vi. Jo, dobrý. Vi a Kali si tam potankujou všechno a one-shotou všechno. Zítra bude sranda, hej, jsme ve finále. Evropa je ve finále a je to jedno. Ale sleduj, co ta Vi. Ona neumírá. Pak Zeka a Kali prostě dává šílený damage do všech. Ta hra fíle, kdyby Hanwha vedla o 20k goldů, protože jsou strašně lepší. Jsou úplně šílený v těch fightech. Čauko Zender, čauko.
He's trying to walk the safest possible path. He's walking around the outside of the blue buff. As soon as he even gets in spell range, he's Q-flashed and crashed down on by Delight and then instantly killed. They have just had such good target selection.
Ale jak jsem říkal, jo, v tom draftu, pokud TES nevyhrajou tuhle early mid game s tímhle kompem, tak nemůžou vyhrát s ničím. Tohle je jakoby jejich největší komfort, nejlepší draft. Číňani tyhle drafty úplně milujou, že Renekton, Xin, Sylas, Varus, Nautilus. A oni prostě prohrávali ty fighty v early game a v mid game anyway. A Kali nechytneš na sidelane, to je, ten champ je broken na sidelane.
Remember when Shroud didn't get seen by the tower?
Yeah, that was...
those were dark times.
That was something.
Cream gonna be looking here for Viper. There's the depth charge. Viper will flash back. Cream.
Ne, Amerika, tyjo, ten Silas až ultimátka dává hrozný AP damage. Přepočty, ona má, kolik má, 1, 2 přepočty? Něco šílenýho má přepočty.
Thinking, okay, or Ash doesn't have sums, we blow everything because there are a lot of other problems on the map. Yeah. But it does mean that Viper is a lot more susceptible to getting taken down in that backline, and that's a lot of consistent damage that would still be gone for Humble Life if TES can manage.
I mean, Pina has a GA.
200%, je to možný, že je klidně 200%, no.
I mean, we see Zeus finishing his second item, but Pina 11, 1 and 10.
Ne, Silas má jiný přepočty na třeba Gnar ultimátka má hrozný přepočty na Silas ultimátce.
Yeah, I think one time is going to be hard enough as is, Zil. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Typek je dead, ten Vi už běží. Peanut už běží, dává kolečko přes zeď. Bing, 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 bing. Ash downtown. Nechal si. Crisp, Braško. To je moc. Ale můžou fightit, protože použili hodně na Crispa. Aatrox flanks, Vi ult. Kamo, jak ten Varus má hrát, nebo ten Cream. Oba dva dostanou Vi ultimátku, anebo Aatrox flash na hlavu z Akali a to nejde hrát. Jako... Týpci jsou, vole, v Africe a najednou se teleportujou, vole, z Afriky do Ameriky a one-shotnou, vole, Varuse a Silase. Renekton má 2500 gold advantage a Aatrox ho ignoruje a zabije Varuse anyway. Renekton ho tam normálně mlátí celou dobu a nic.
But the game that was already looking dire, a 5k gold deficit, that TES were
dívej. Jako oni použijou hodně na Delighta, takže oni pak můžou fightit a Zeus má monster flank, a Kali monster flank. Ale Vi za ultí prostě, boom, nemůže Silase, nemůže dejchat a Kali na něj za ultí instantně mrtvej. Teď Renekton, co má 3000 HP, píluje, vole, Aatroxe, ale je úplně k hovnu, nic nedělá tomu Zeusovi. Zeus se mu směje do ksichtu a zabije Varuse. A Kali, vole, z Afriky se teleportuje do Ameriky a prostě... Ty champové jsou šíleně silní, šíleně. Jako prostě Vi a Kali. Jarouši, díky za 8 měsíců, děkuju. Aspoň dneska jsem můžu dělat na live, jej. Kam oni tam 2v4, tam prostě Vi... Já bych teď reálně, teď oni okamžitě Zeus, Viper, Delight, běžte AFK a nechte Zeku a Peanuta dát 2v5 pentakill. Já to chci vidět. Je to úplně easy a oni by to 2v5 vyhráli ten fight. Vi ultimátka na Varuse a typek nedejchá. Kámo, to je tak unfair. Staví Edge of Night aspoň ten Varus, ale problém je, že proti dobrým hráčům Edge of Night je k ničemu. Protože oni ti smajtnou ten spell shield. Má Edge of Night, no. Má. Ale prostě, kámo, ty vidíš Jike Vi a pořád nechápeš, proč ten Jike tu Vi pikuje furt a každou hru je 0-10. A pak vidíš Peanuta a možná trošičku pochopíš, proč se to snaží zahrát ten týpek.
For them this game, but Zayas now even ahead as it's a 5,000 gold lead for Peanut, and they are just ready for this one to be over. Cream getting pushed back, Peanut just going for a 3-level lead in the jungle. He's level 16, and Jackie knows he's going to be the target again. Has no flash this time. 7 deaths for him already.
K čemu byste přirovnali, když porovnáte Jike Vi a Peanut Vi? Peanut dává 1v9 na Vi každou hru, Jike je 0-10 každou hru na Vi. Oba mají 3 hry na Vi a víc.
Retreating into the well, they want him, and they're gonna get him. Insult to injury, HLE will.
A ještě ani neumře, ne? Tak hoši, vy jste roboti, kurva. Nepleť si hovno s čokoládou. Kekofole. Cheeseburger z mekáče na fotce versus v realitě.
That previous game, in hindsight, didn't feel quite so bad because this one felt like, again, the early traits, they felt a lot more even.
Je to jako italská pizza ze svého těsta, to pozor, od babičky je nejlepší.
Peanut is looking unstoppable. 52 kills.
Snappy stream versus tvůj stream. A dobré. Tak.
We'll be back after the break.
Tak. Hello, Kitru. What can I say? Kadil jsem dneska, jo. Po včerejším fast foodu 2kilovým jsem kadil, no. Vůbec nemám slepený střeva, nebolí mě celý břicho.
Puppy, why don't you take my keys and go for a ride?
Budeš někdy komentovat se Snapem? Teďka budu KitKat komentovat se Snapem. A to? A Lecko nebo to bych mohl?
Stella? Almost. What's next? Bright blue. It's bold.
Sorry, hon.
I'm hungry, actually.
U plakánku, kdy budeš koukat zase skoro na 2metrového týpka, nevím, co je 2metrový týpek. Nebo skoro 2metrový týpek. Čauko, Seníku, čauko. Borci, je vás tu hodně, můžu vás poprosit. Půjdete dát like na tohle video, je to livestream, je to co-stream na YouTube. Normálně to otevřete, dejte tam lajkoš, děkuju. Ono se to pak na YouTube zobrazuje mnohem víc lidem. Ten livestream. Protože já dual streamu. Jaká byla série KC, jsem zaspal. No, já taky trochu. Ale banger, 5 her. To je ten, jak ukazoval barák a každých 5 minut říkal, že má 2 metry, jo, to. Tak to jsme se jenom koukali na barák, jeho. Ale bylo to funny, že říkal každých 5 minut, že má 2 metry, no. Stával si dneska v 5, ne, hele, mně se stalo, už po druhý se mi to stalo, fakt nekecám. Ruku na srdce, přísahám. Mně se stalo, že já když si dám budík, třeba jsem šel spát ve 2 večer po těch 2kilových burgerech, a já si vždycky dal jsem si alarm a dalo ta tam, že 4:40 alarm, že za 2:30, za 2 hodiny a půl se mi tam zobrazilo, že se mi pustí alarm. A ten alarm se mi prostě nepustil. Já si nedělám prdel. Už se mi to stalo po druhý, kdy prostě to nejede. Ani to nezazvoní. A já si říkám, já spím. A říkám si, ty vole, já spím nějak dlouho, protože já jsem se furt budil. Jo, protože jak jsem prostě byl přežraný z toho fast foodu, tak jsem se furt budil, protože mám spánkovou apnou, takže jako jsem se tak 10krát za ten večer vzbudil a říkám, tyjo, to je nějaký divný, spím nějak dlouho, měl bych se pojít na telefon, co jako je? A potom, co jsem se zbudil tak po 8, po 9, tak se podívám na telefon a ono je 7 ráno a říkám, aha, tak Elon Musk mi vypnul budík zas, vole. Prostě nejde nic. Já vím, že to zní vtipně. Já vím, že to říkám jak dement. Ale já přísahám Bohu, já jsem si ten budík nastavil. Mám to tam nastavený, já vám to ukážu, sleduj. Ale ono to prostě nejelo. 4:30. Vidíš to tam? A nejelo to. Nejelo. A když si dám na tom na Google, tak na Google why did my alarm not go off Samsung? A tady je prostě my alarm sometimes randomly doesn't go off. A že to je nějaký glitch v softwaru. Že to je glitch v softwaru. Je to prostě glitch nějaký. Fakt, hoši. Nedělám si prdel. Sleduj. Je to prostě real věc, dívej. My alarm sometimes randomly doesn't go off. Alarm doesn't go off occasionally. Clock alarm not working. Prostě Samsung aplikace na alarm je dog shit. Top 8 ways to fix alarms not going off on Samsung. Why doesn't my alarm go off on Android? Prostě, nevím. Vladino, za 2 dny budu mít slevu na Actin, jo? Od 17.3. budu mít slevový kód na Actin, takže si počkej.
Potržítko Granko donátit 30 korun českých. To mi dost připomíná příběh Resttaze si vypol budík v podvědomí a prostě si spal dalej. Jde.
Danko, já mám lehký spánek, já bych si to určitě pamatoval, když bych to vypnul. Já si možná stáhnu nějakou jinou aplikaci na ten budík. Ale já jako fakt nepamatuju si, že bych to vypnul a nepamatuju si, že by to zvonilo. A já fakt, hele, jsem nasranej, že jsem nestál, ale it is what it is. Nemělo bys to stát. Ale prostě dojebal mě budík. Elon Musk.
Back to First 10 2025, where after a bloodbath of a game, HLE can taste the finals 2-0 here.
Restaras v cucol gauč.
Game away from making it and one of absolute dominance from this team on the way they can
to už nezahráníš. Hej, whatever. Já příště si dám 40 budíků prostě, ať se mi neglitchne software.
Ash is such a treat, as we saw in that team fight, but like that was kind of one of the backbreaking.
Prostě jenom to ukazuje to, co tady píše, prostě delikát. Dáš si fast food, máš statistiky Aura Ringu, jak kdybys chlastal, vole, největší chlastačku svého života a přijdeš o sluch. Neslyšíš. Prostě fast food je jed. Týpka má pěkný krk, Aliku, nezačínej. Nezačínej si.
And there was always follow-up. There was always another member.
Dal bych si kafe. Ale můj sleep schedule doufá v to, nebo moje tělo doufá v to, že teďka bude 3-0 a já půjdu spát.
Maybe more lax games in the group stage from them, some more zany picks. They are locked in today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the thing with HLE. When they're locked in, they're never going to give you a chance. They know how to put you in a checkmate situation super early in the game, and once they have that game locked in, they're just not going to let it go.
Moc ne právě.
And I think
když se podívám na svůj spánek.
Watching their team fighting, and also you can tell that they're just having so much fun, right? Like that it just makes me really happy when talking to Zach yesterday, watching them through LCK.
Zero, dobré.
Yeah, it just really seems like, especially in Fearless Draft, they're even picking some really creative stuff in games 1 and 2 when their champion pools haven't even been pushed at all.
Ona s tím mikrofonem furt tak lomcuje, že někdy slyším, někdy ne. Po každý.
Underperforming, but also throughout this entire tournament, HLE has just been really, really good.
Yeah, no fun in the draft today from them, though it feels like they're taking things a bit more seriously, air quotes, not
Jako týpci si fakt mysleli, že jako Hanva bude trolit, když jako, že budou pikovat se Vladimír a Quinn, nebo co?
Everything is super clean from HLE so far, and they displayed absolute reverse.
Víš, jak oni chcou prohrát Team Liquid proti Team Liquidu, aby nemuseli hrát proti Top Esports a pikou Z, Quinn, Kale, Vladimír. No jako Vladimír je legit pick, takhle, Vladimír je legit pick, ale jako Kale, Quinn, Z, to nejsou legit picky.
HLE, Jackalow stepping up a bit too far, Vi ult straight on him, and then Viper just free hitting this entire fight. You compare, you know, Varus and Ash, two similar AD carries in their immobility, but it just feels like Viper was untouched and Jackalow dead so quickly in that matchup.
Yeah, and taking Jackalow out of these fights is so crucial, right? And it really seemed like Peanut had his number all game.
Nice
he
graphic,
is
guys.
the nut god himself.
Nut god.
These are his numbers across both games, but
tak,
in this one in particular,
tohle si musíme vysvětlit.
He
co
did
to jako je.
his job perfectly, right? Like he's like, I need to make sure that I take this immobile carry out of the game as quickly as possible. And even in some of the fights where it looked like, again, top esports were going to get a kill and it's a 4v5, his target selection was absolutely on point.
Felt like there wasn't a
Ten
single
popisek
fight
sedí na mě. Za co mě máte? Ale chtěl bych víc, chtěl vidět srovnání grafiky, Peanut Vi, Yike Vi. To dají zítra. To bude srovnání, podle mě. Jackie nemohl tuhle hru hrát, to nešlo. On hrál Varuse a týpci mají Akali Vi, Aatrox. To nejde hrát.
Top esports need to win more games to even take them to that point where they're so feared.
I mean, again, I know we've said this a lot, but for me, what strikes me the most is that even the players say it.
Jackie přijde do té šatny a bouchne do stolu a řekne buff ADC, ADC jsou k hovnu, kurva. Jaké byly hry KC, jestli má cenu koukat na záznam. Ale bylo to 5 her. A byly to celkem bangry. Hlavně ta poslední hra byla banger. Game 5 byla banger. 40 000 damage Akali, 30 000 Vi.
Of the disparity between their domestic performance and their international performance once again. So I know the
Ashe celý fighty free hitovala. Ashe reálně auto atakovala co nejvíc, co mohla v každém fightu, protože ji nikdo nefokusoval a stejně má poloviční damage jak Akali a 70% damage jak Vi.
As they're prepping for this game,
buff AD, guys.
Maybe
buff
it can
AD.
happen,
Legit.
but in their form right now, I do think it's an HLE 3-0.
That's the thing, like some of the teams in the LPL
co oni teďka budou hrát?
Massive names, they have to fight through teams like BLG. We know they're capable when they're playing.
Ty jsou v choku, já to vidím na těch obličejích.
But they're just not delivering, and I'm hoping they bounce back. It's going to be very hard to come back and reverse the position.
Co jako budou pikovat teď, aby, protože oni měli fakt dobrý draft minulý kolo, nebo jako dobrý. Neměli lepší draft než HLE, ale měli svůj nejlepší draft.
Gunning for you, so maybe just play something a bit more straightforward and look to have him be follow up.
Smutný je, že TES ztratí sponzory, co?
Team have easy engage tools because I don't think you can lean on complex League of Legends right now when you're struggling at the basics.
HLE are playing at home here so far and they're
Aleš, jaký je plán dnes? Ale po této sérii budu asi spát, vyspím se a potom napíšu kapesníkovi a Brianovi, jestli teda něco budeme dělat, jestli budeme nějaký idol streamovat. Oni chtěli jít do Harry Potter kavárny, ale prý ta Harry Potter kavárna není moc dobrá. Že tam jako dojdeš jednou a that's it.
It is one game away from Top's elimination at the event, one game away from HLE making it a clean sweep. And heading on to the
a to by byl asi plán, no.
Já
jsem vám zapomněl rozdat ty kitkat bedny. Zkuste mi připomenout ty kitkat bedny. Po téhle hře rozdáme 3 kitkat bedny. Plný sušenek, 24 sušenek. Takhle velká krabice, já to pošlu.
369 I do think was really strong in the team fights and was able to get advantages, but the difference in the pressure on Jackie versus the pressure on Viper.
Já už mám hlad, takže si dám si tyčinku.
Champion select powered by Omen HyperX.
a pošlu vám to přímo domů.
Was a complete and utter blowout. The one saving grace is that we are playing fearless. Whose champions will no longer be available. Frees up some of the mental space of not having to go into the same thing again.
The Vi and Akali duo got 30 kills, 3 deaths, and 30 assists combined. That is, I don't know if I've ever seen that in like an LPL versus LCK #1 seed. That's usually like you're on a completely different level. It feels like a stomp of almost historic proportions.
Yeah, the only performance I can think of, we did have Callisto was at 17-2. Recently, that was him individually in the series against Humble Life. And then we had Pace last year at MSI, which I'm pretty sure he set the record for international kills. I think it was 20, I want to say 22. Maybe ended up with a little bit more. But like,
I remember this like Peanut Lee Sin game from years ago where he got like 14 kills back when minor regions were still around. This is he just got like 16 kills against the LPL #1. That is not what I was expecting to see coming into this event. And it is going to be tough. We can catch up with the bands here. Caitlin, Talia, and Nar banned out here by TES, who is back on the blue side.
Plus
And
se
we're
chci
going
jít
to see
spát, tak
HLE
ten
banning
cukr
out
není
the
potom dobré.
Skarner, the Nidalee, as well as the Callista. Quite a bit of focus on the ADs so far in this series.
Skarner ban, OK. Co bude
obviously
pikovat?
played last game, Callista banned out,
Nelíbí se mi tady ty rotující věci, měly by to tady mít prostě vlevo a vpravo všechno.
We are working down the tier
Abych
list
to
here a
nemusel
little bit.
čekat, než se to zrotuje, co tam je nebo není.
see what the prioritization is going to be. 369, he gets the prio pick.
Ambessa, OK.
Do we just get the Camille answer, you think?
That is, Camille Galio is the no-brainer. Yeah.
I just love Camille as an answer. Zeus is a fantastic Camille. And I do think it is such a tough matchup for Ambessa, so it just feels like it fits for what HLE want to do.
A zítra se hraje finále v 9 ráno, že?
I think that 369 has been, particularly today, the best performing member individually. He was the only one where there were glimmers of hope, right?
Okay, well, for
team fight
open.
performances. Peanut, very different style from the last champion that he got, but another champion that he absolutely excels on.
Jak se cítíš po včerejších fásturech?
My guess is going to be
Výborně,
towards AD carry. We'll
výborně.
see if they actually do want to prioritize pick this Camille or whether they're going to save it. They do, of course, run the risk of it getting banned if you do save it up to the second rotation.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the follow-up is going to be. I think the Galileo Prio...
Bravo, Michele, to už by bylo moc, když by i banutí champion byli jako skrz Fearless zabanovaný. To už by bylo moc. Však teďka, když bude Game 5, tak máš 50 zabanovaných champů. Což je šílený. Kolik z bodů z 10 bys dal včerejšímu streamu s kapesníkem Brianem? Tak 7-8. Taková pohodička, dobré to bylo. Snědl jsem skoro 2 burgery a 4 stripsy. Nebo 5 stripsů, nějak víc stripsů jsem snědl. Tak, Pantheon, Ambessa, Aurora, to je hodně velký agres. Oni pikou čím dál tím víc agresivnější champy, aby jako vyhráli ty skirmishy a ty fighty TES. Zatím furt prohrávají, i když mají prostě dobrý fight champy. Jax, OK. Jax do Ambessy.
They wore their helmet. Yeah, they did. Is going to be a little
Pantheon,
bit
Aurora,
here. I was actually
Ambessa.
wondering whether Humble Life was going to prioritize picking another disengaged champion, obviously with the Mao.
Tady se mi líbí TES draft hodně. A Hanwha draft je takový,
and TES are very clearly committing to
nevím, co se tam děje.
heavy short range dive. Really good backline threats.
Uvidíme 4-5, ale
Shut down that style. I'm wondering if we're going to see something like the Bromban. He loves playing into that style of composition. Poppy is another, I can't believe I haven't mentioned it yet. Obviously one of
tady
the
bych typoval, že jako TES mají zase velkou šanci vyhrát.
Incredible champion, particularly into
S tímhle draftem.
obviously dashes on everything, but even for the Pantheon can be really annoying to play into.
Yep, can be pretty difficult. Lulu, we've seen much more on the ban page than actually in-game. Has been catching a lot of bans, especially as we get deeper into the series. Leona will be adding to the list as well. Definitely some very good merc value for TES this game, as there's a lot of CC over on the HLE side
Rally
already.
out.
And you kind of have this mixed magic top side with
Alistar
the
je
Maokai as
out,
well as the
Rakan je
Jax.
out.
Tristana, the final ban.
Tady na ty drafty potřebuješ fakt jako vidět všechny čempiony. A mít prostě to vytisklý, kolik je tam jakých supportů a ADček, aby si mohl vybrat, no. To už z hlavy nejde moc. Lucian Nami, tady to může upiknout Lucian Nami. Jackie Love Chris Lucian Nami do Gina je hodně dobrý. Tady jestli piknou Lucian Nami, tak řeknu, hej, hands down TES vyhraje tuhle hru. Vladimír. Vladimír mid. Kámo, oni už trolí, protože jsou 2-0. Vlad není good do Aurory, ne?
So hard to lane into a Bessa. So Vladimir being brought out by Zayas previously a couple times. This kind of Swifties rush with Ghost Flash has become a lot more popular. We obviously, because it's competitive play, we're seeing TP every time. But I do wonder, you know, if Zeka would go for it.
Škoda. Ten Lucian Nami by byl huge.
Going to be getting pushed in pretty heavily.
Yes.
And so you do
Vlad je
lose
strašný do Aurory, skoro nehratelný.
Jackie Love going to be locking in the Corki. So there is potential for if you can get pushed mid,
tak to je Zeus.
Teaming up,
a tak Vladimír, ale tak do Ambes je taky bet, ne? Jako je to pravda, může to být Jin Maokai bot lane, Jax jungle a Vladimír top. Hele, to by bylo hodně halus. Ne, dobrý. Týpek prostě pikne, hej, oni trolí zás. Oni prostě zas trolí, jsou 2-0, tak prostě si řeknou, hej, tak prostě pikujem champy, fun to play champy. No nic, jako hele. Oni si prostě řeknou, že tyhle v Game 2, oni prohrajou ty fighty, které nemůžou prohrát. Top esport. A oni si řeknou, hej, hoši, tyhle Číňani jsou tak boosted, že si piknem Blitz, Vladimír, Jax, Maokai.
If you are on point with them, you can be the difference in a game like this, but you know, a couple wrong moves and you can be the reason that your team is falling flat.
It's so interesting to me that the Humble Life read is that Vlad is so strong.
Blitz v pohodě, ale co to je Vladimír, vole, do Aurory?
I do think a lack of mid prio is generally a lot more debilitating for a team than the lack of top lane prio, particularly when you're playing into Bard.
Budeš si tady povídat? Kolik jsi šel spát, zase jsi tam chýhňal. Já to slyším v noci, když spím. Slyším to hýňání, tohle. Zdrav 9 ráno stáváš na Casey, že dáme Casey co-stream spolu. Casey, Hanva, ani hovno. Ty máš hodně v píči, Tome. Jak má tu sekeru, ty vole, jak to cool. To ti jebe. Jo, ale je to cool jak svině.
Players' hands.
Oh, like shaking hands or something?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I'm not going to lie.
Shaking their fists.
Yeah, shaking their fists at each other, as these two teams have been doing thus far. You know, Vladimir, yes, you are going to be getting pushed in, but if you get towards those late game stages, this can be a team fight beast, especially against a relatively low range composition that just has the tendency to get stacked up. You can get AoE down in a hurry. You gotta love it. The LCK faithful here in LOL Park.
Ještě nikdo neudělal v kompetitivu to, co udělal Kapesníkův tým, mám pocit, ne? Že piknul prostě 4 junglery, nebo 3 topaře, nebo 4, prostě nějakého broken, já nevím, vemeš prostě nejlepšího hráče. No, je to tak, no, mají 5 dobrých hráčů. Plus ten týpek zahraje víc než 3-4 piky, většinou.
Do think that these two team comps both have a very clear plan. For TES, it's all about the backline access. Can we
teď já jako v tuhle hru jsem zmatený a čekám, co Hanva teda jako bude dělat, protože to si jako věří, že budou tak strašně skill gapovat, že pikou tohle.
Viper is going to have to really play
ahoj, Veny, ahoj.
But between the Jax, the Vladimir and the Maokai, I do think the tools are there for Hanwha.
Imagine, že by TES dali comeback, to by se hodně proklínali, že pikli Blitze a toho. Nebo jako tenhle ten draft.
as well as global pressure through the Bard, as well as the Pantheon, is going to be something that Hanwha Life, I think, should have a tough time dealing with.
I really agree, but the hook just narrowly backstepped there by Jackie. That could have been problematic for him. But at the same time, you know, even if they create an early advantage, we have to see, can they turn that into a team fight win?
Ty vole, heal na to, aby forsnuli flash. To bylo dobrý.
That actually did elect to land, but decides, you know what, I'll trade out the flash, I'll try to keep my health high here. Crisp and Jackie putting on the pressure as Zeus on top side does have full control over this wave, and it's going to be pushing them in. You can see that Peanut is behind that bot lane, knowing that there is some potential, especially with Pantheon on the other side, of a cheeky early gank. Cream, though, you know, getting the push here onto Zeka. It's mostly just about this empowered Q that you really cannot mess with. You have to force them to use it on minions. It feels a lot less when you use it on minions, and of course you
Zeus
cannot
dá 1v9
win
trust,
if you do accept that.
Zeus dává vždycky 1v9.
To
není moc jako velký bet.
And Peanut can just kind of reverse clear back up towards top side. They play safe. They have full information.
Dobrý rom, dobrá hra, akorát hodně dobrý, že Peanut tady udělal hodně dobrý path. To musíš být hrozně chytrý za toho Maokai, nebo šel bys za junglera, že tohle uděláš. Hrozně chytrý. Musíš vědět, že třeba tvoje botlane nemá push a tvůj mid nemá push, což tady v tomhle levelu je úplně jednoduchý, nebo každý to ví, ale tyhle jako pro lidi, co to jako neznají, co neznají tohle v solo queue třeba, nebo všeobecně prostě horší týmy v Evropě, nebo jakýkoliv týmy v Evropě, podle mě, tak by to neudělali. Takže on prostě s toho Maokaiem ví, on s tím Maokaiem ví, že jeho bot a mid nebudou mít push a že mu dají invade. Nebo to čeká, že mu dají invade a díky tomu začíná na vrejtech a pak si vyfarmí blůčko a jde do topsidey, aby ho nemohli invadit. Protože na topu má push. S tím Jackson. Prostě chytrý. Je to fakt chytrý, je to smart a nezdá se to, ale udělalo to hodně.
But they know it, so just backs off. More wasted time.
Not sure about where the Bard is, but they do spot Kanavi there. So not gonna end up working out here early on. Wave state did feel a little bit awkward for Zeus. Zeka, yeah, you mentioned the second activation of the Q there. I've seen Vlad's ghost for that one. You know, it's like, it's worked.
It feels good, Zeus. Taking a bit of a back
okay, Zeus má furt TP a 2 cookies.
Very long cooldowns there for Mbessa early on, and they are still up on the top side.
Cookies by měli disabnout trošičku, nebo nerfnout, nebo removenout úplně. From zero to hero, najedu spát po tomhle. Jak se ti spal? Jakože ty chceš hrát dinosauříky? Ty vole, já se podívám, já jsem spal 5 hodin, že bych dal dinosauříky. Jako možná, nevím. A ty bys chtěl dát krokoše, jo? No dali bychom krokoše. Sérii bychom mohli dát, sérii vždycky umřem. Já bych si spíš bucnul. A pak třeba streamoval dinosaury later. Si že spal s plným břichem, hrozně špatně.
Did go for a base there, as already was halfway towards the top lane. Should be able to then shove that out without too much issues as 30 seconds on the grubs. The light is roaming, but hasn't really found anything yet. Really neither support able to make an impact. But for really both Bard and Blitz going in early,
to je porodeka, Veny. To je normální, nebo není to porodeka, to je porovanzí. Ale to je takový vzdekový materiál. A to máš v tom spí prostě. Úplnej úchyl. To musí být vedro jak blázen. Čauko Kapes, čauko. Co bříško, bolí, bolí. A to už jsem sral. Nechci vidět fast food dalších 10 let Kapes, doufám, že ty taky ne. Hele, nebojte, rozdáme kitkat bedny, 3 kitkat bedny rozdáme po téhle hře. A potom vyhlásíme top dono tričko.
And as you get more and more CDR in, this champion starts to become a bit of a brick wall in lane where all of a sudden you can't chip him out.
Kape se včera dobře napapal, jo. Moc dobře.
Do you think Cream for the foreseeable future should be able to maintain a decent level of prio? And I also like that TES prioritized the grubs here. I do think that for them, given the amount of sideline pressure that they have with both the Pantheon as well as the Bard, not even purely in the 1v1 matchups, because obviously Jax and Vladimir both are side lane demons, but having the ability to get to a side lane first is always going to be powerful for them, so having the threat of that...
Kape, stíhám. Teďka dají 3-0, Hanva, i když s tímto draftem nevím, ale dají 3-0, já se pak bucnu na 2 hodiny a pak můžeme něco dělat. A vy chcete streamovat od kdy, Kapes? Zkusím trval, nezapomínám, když se mi to připomeň.
Dodges the fast bomb, but the big one will connect, and now Peanut trying to get up here and potentially be involved. Can Delight find the angle for the hook? He's gonna find it.
Našel to. Flash W, to jsme viděli na streamu Clashi. Boom, headshot, first blood. Chris má flash, ok, flashuje. Pozor, oni ho mají. I když? Nemají. Tak mají.
It is just the one kill back here from TES. But it's a great engage from Delight, and I feel like we have said that time and time again this series. Zeka does pop the Hemo Plague there, just using it defensively, knowing that Cream could have gone forward with the
S tím kašlem musím být doktorovi, kámo, to je crazy. To je covid, no to asi ne, ale kašlu takhle strašně dlouho už. A měl jsem antibiotika a nepomohlo to. To je reflux, ale já jsem nic nejedl.
Not quite in the nick of time, and it goes back again. The summons were available for Jackie.
Hleda, že bych měl reflux z vody, což pochybuji. Jo, takhle, jo, že jsem, jo, chápu. Jakože to mám z toho fast foodu, jo, že mě zabíjí fast food. Ze včera můžeš mít ještě, můžu no.
Because of that, they didn't know if Kanavi is here a second earlier. I think at the very least Crisp gets out, right? You trade 1-for-1, it doesn't feel as bad. Yeah, you still give up the sums, but the fact that Viper gets a kill.
Ale já tam jdu, já jsem objednaný SOS.
And the play still works out. That's
K doktorovi jsem objednaný, že tam prostě trvá, než tam můžu jít. Mě objednávají docela jako takový věci, co nejsou akutní, tak ti dají, vole, čekačku 3 týdny.
The light flashes in and actually knocks him up. Zeus trying to survive here under the tower. Does have to be a bit careful. The ulti is available for 369. There's no counter-strike.
Nevím.
For a dive would be risky, but
Nepřijde mi, že jak dobrý do Ambesy, ale uvidíme. Vladimír do té Aurory je even, což je crazy, a ty vole dali ta ale není v Torrent Range, to je škoda.
Peanut in the area, and the Jhin is coming down now. They're going to try to look for the dive here on Zeus. Zeus counter-strikes out, and he flashes away from the public execution. There's a flash follow, though. Kanavi needs to actually block the shots, but he can't do it. Peanut gets a kill back.
A nebloknul poslední, teď dostaneš force, boom. Mákaj dead, pozor. Mají ho. A budou mít i Delighta. Viper se toho strašně bojí. Co dělá Viper? Dobré? Ale je dead. Aspoň máš shutdowny. Ale oni mají taky shutdowny. Ty vole, nevím no, jako 1000 goldů advantage TES. A fightí agresivně early game s tímhle kompem, což je super pro TES. Hej, já nevím, minulou hru jsem říkal, já vím, že jsem minulou hru říkal, že pokud nevyhrajou tu game 2 s tím draftem, co mají, tak nevyhrajou žádnou. Ale tohle je ještě jakoby lepší draft pro TES než předtím. A Hanva to hlavně trolí. Hanva to netrolila tu Game 2, ten draft. Teď to trolí ten draft.
And then Viper, not too sure about that one. Yes, you get the shutdown onto the Pantheon, but giving your sums as well as your life and Jackie.
Peanut, no flash.
Oh,
they can't quite get in range. Are they going to be able to find Crisp? Does not connect with the Cosmic Binding, and now they're slowed up, and here comes the Nature's Grasp. Na'Vi going to block it, but there's the root of the multiple members.
Pozor, ale mají angle na kvéčko. Ten je dead. Ale aspoň neumřou všichni. To je problém, ty první dvě hry byly vždycky, když takhle fightili, tak umřelo 5 lidí a bylo to game over. Teď umřel jenom jeden. Peanut Maokai, to jsi ještě neviděl, Peanut White, ten týpek byl 16-1-14 nebo co si. 1v4 quadrakill. Plný magor.
The ult from Chris doesn't really hit the mark. Ideally, you'd either be able to get onto Viper, take away the source of damage, or hit only the light so that Kanavi can walk it off, but instead just allows Humble Life to further set up.
Yeah, it just did not work out for them, and that was the E. That is that safety that you talked about, so kind of just expired during the Tempered Fate, and then he did not have a lot of safety. They're able to give that kill over to Viper, who now has 3 early kills. Zeus, though, is struggling a little bit here with 369. 369 has been playing it out very, very well.
Kapes, co to zkoušíš na Tomáše, ha? Vy budete streamat jako teďka za hodinu už, nebo co, kapesník? Pozor, Maokai to tady s deletem coveruje ten dive. Tady jak prostě, to je strašně krásný vidět, jak oni přesně ví, co se bude dít v té hře a counterujou to. Oni jsou prostě step ahead.
Has to be respectful though, because you could get caught out here. Instead, they're going to use the Pantheon ult, get in on that backline. If 3 aren't doing it, let's bring 4. It's the Pantheon ult for the Gromp. I don't know if that's going to be enough. Now they can look for the hook. Delight trying to fish. Kanavi trying to find a way back. Will be able
tady
to walk
prostě
it out.
tancujou ty 4 lidi. A to je to přehání s těma davám většinou, ale to je Bard ultimátka krásná. A zase to přehání. Maokai výborný flash. Viper krytnul. Kolektor. Zase to přehání s těma divama. Kamo, co jim jebe, oni jsou úplně šílení s těma divama. Ale cením, jak TES hrajou agresivně a je to close jak svině každý fight. Kapes, a co je za program dneska? Co mám za program? Jenom kavárna Harry Potter? A dál co?
Zeus low, Delight low, Peanut low, but no rewards to be had.
Yeah, I feel like the opposite lesson is the case here. So if it doesn't work the first time, maybe just cut your losses and run away.
Dát kafe? Ne, a kdybych si lehnul na hodinu, tak to dobré. Si dá hodinový napík. A pak si dám kafe a budu dobrý. A to stíhám, jestli budou zapínat stream ve 2, že jo. Hanva teďka samozřejmě vyhraje 3-0, bude to Turbo Stomp. Vůbec nemají špatný draft. Hele, ale jako Vladimír celkem prostě je even proti Auroře, to jsem nečekal vůbec.
It's going to be a problem.
It really is. You know, I do think we're going to have to see TES really use their globals to their advantage. You have to use the extra teleport. You know, try to find fights.
Na hodinu a zase budík off. No doufám, že se mi nevypne budík, to by bylo blbý.
We'll see if they can do it. And I mean, the retry on that dive was kind of foiled when Jackie Love was the second one to take turret aggro. And as soon as it goes on him, they don't really have the damage to actually knock down these members. Zeka, you can see 69 gold. In his advantage, check out the land economy snapshot by MasterCard. Kanavi in a pretty good spot here, but we have a very even game, 15 minutes in. It kind of feels like it's been the name of the series up until the first major team fight, where HLE just always seemed to land that haymaker.
TS, they're gonna have to change that as Viper. 369, he's looking. 369
is looking.
Neflashnul to. Flashnul late, je dead. Dodgenul kvéčko, ale Viper, výborný dodge. To ti jebe! On žije celou dobu. Vladimír tu nebyl a Jax tu nebyl a stejně vzali 2 killy. To je huge. On dodgenul to kvéčko od té Ambessy potom. Viper. Hej, 2 za 2. Úplně v pohodě, kámo. Úplně v pohodě. A Jack si tady pušuje. To je crazy. Ale zase ty přehání s těma divama, no. Tady jsem fakt nečekal, že Viper sidestepne. Dívej. Viper to neflashne okamžitě, čekal jsem, že to flashne okamžitě. A tady jak sidestepne to kvéčko od Ambessy, dívej, bum, viděl jsi to? A on díky tomu přežil a musela Ambessa flashovat in, aby ho zabila. What the fuck? To bylo crazy.
TES was able to, I assume, use the tempo from that as they had to back. The rest of Hanwha wasn't in a position to follow up to get themselves access to that Herald.
Yep, nicely done by them. Gotta say, just
To by
every
si
time when
uklikali
you watch
ty, jo,
the
ten
TES
dočasně.
team fights from HLE, the peel is so damn good.
Já bych umřel,
Pina comes in,
začal
peels
bych
the
se
Ambessa,
vstékat, že buff
and
AD,
Delight
týpci
is
mě
just
tady
walked
dají
on
mezi
target.
dvěma věžama,
Jackie,
když mám
he's
flash.
knocking him up, he's silencing them, he's slowing them down as best as he possibly can to force the extra commitment in onto Viper. Without those peels, he just dies immediately, and the fight can look really different for TES. They are feeling the pressure here, knowing that Jax
On je Redemption dobrý do Aurory, protože Aurora má AoE damage jak blázen skrz ultimátku.
369, the scoreline, I don't think is really kind of representing how well he's played in the 1v1, but you just always know you're on a clock in these kind of matchups. Jax puts pretty much everyone on a clock.
We haven't even talked about the fact that this is one of the games where I think
A kdy bude Zeka online v té videohře už? Ještě tak 7 minut, 8 minut?
with extra heal and shielding power.
I mean, all these brawlers, right? You know, it's like these fights that aren't always over in an instant.
3 itemy, jo, Vladimír.
These aren't going to get a lot of value from it, but the Maokai, the Jax, the Ambessa, the Pantheon.
That's really the main theme, right? ADs have it rough.
It is. Well, Viper hasn't had it so rough this series, I will say. Looks pretty fun to play AD carry when you're on HLE, as whole squad always there to cover, always feeling like they're the ones on the front foot, starting these fights off. But TES looking for a trade up on top side. They still have the Herald in pocket. They're going to hold on, knock down the tier 1 without using it, and likely try to use that, you know, maybe in the next couple of minutes here, potentially around
Aurora přeskyle Vladimíra, tak to si nemyslím, kámo. To hraješ jinou videohru. Jako Aurora je hodně silná, ale Vladimír je monstrum.
You get a great cost map trade, put a good amount of gold in the
Rage
pocket.
Bay, to nevím, jestli byl Rage Bay
Or
už.
the item finishes. We're getting pretty close on second item finishes across the board. All opponents are starting to come through. Transformation for Jekyll is going to be such a big spike for that core key.
Yeah, Zeka caught out a little bit here, but we'll be able to just pop the pool and walk back. There's not enough extra members from TES to really.
Musím myslet na to, že po téhle hře vám chci rozdat ty kitkat bedny. Susenky. Abych na to nezapomněl. Ale vy na to určitě nezapomenete, že jo? Vy chcete věci zadarmo.
Playing with fire a little bit with very little vision, but now as they went into that pit, I do believe he got eyes on them before that control ward was dropped.
Well, now for TES, as we have seen this type of situation before in this series, it's about actually winning the fight. And I think for them, ideally, you don't take a fight. You find someone isolated and blow them up, right? We've already seen that they have an incredible amount of dive power, even when there are a lot of members of Hanwha Live. I just think ideally, you try to find
Kolektor
someone
rapid
who
fire.
isn't so safe. And we have seen ton
Ale
of vision set up towards the
mají
top
3
side of the map.
mercs a CDR boty, že nemají armor.
Zeka spotted here. Kanavi going to just drive this one in. It is everyone coming mid to answer for this. You can see Zayas moving down. Tower chunk low, but not killed off just yet.
Vladimír zatím nedává damage. Oni fightí, to ne, to není dobrý fight, ne? Pro TES, to není dobrý fight pro TES. Proč tohle dělají? Dobrý flash od Zeuse. Jin ultimátka ještě, ale Bard je dobrý do Jina. Bard je hodně dobrý do Jina. Buď vždycky takhle utečíš portálem z ultimátky, anebo zaultíš jeho ultimátku.
Doesn't look that bad initially, but it's when 369 gets hooked and
Tady jsem překvapený, že Cream to zase divoval nebo forsoval. Že ultí jen a tak. Víš, že tady ultí. Týpci za ultí Viper, ale to je irrelevant s tím Bardem. A TES to tam šel úplně deep jak blázen. Zeus je dead. Má flash? Nemá flash. Jak je fort. Total. Potrolil.
Taken out. Cream gets an important kill as 369 is unanswered on bot side. He's going to be pushing up. Look at the mini map. There's like 6 flowers down around that bot lane tower. That is just the TES graveyard. We'll see if someone can get down to pick the roses.
Big pick there for TES, exactly what we're talking about, right? It's Kanavi and Chris finding someone in the side lane together. Zeus getting punished for his transgressions. You see Hollow Life are considering going in. Maybe we can get something done there, but the moment that they see that Crisp is there as well, know that the play isn't salvageable. Peanut backs up, says, good luck, buddy.
Get this as well. So 369 going to be pretty.
No, oni to začínají. Vladimír má TP? Nemá. Vlad nemá TP. Ale Jackie se nechal napolkovat hodně. To můžou, to rašnou. Aha, nebo vy jste naintěli tak draft, že to nemůžete hrát. Jin forfeit. Aha, nemůžou nic. Ambessa engage, ale šel too deep. Nemají kitky, oni fightí přes ty kitky a vemou všechny kitky. Oni to dojebali. Ne, kam jdete? Hoši, to je deep jak svině. Zeus. Berte ty kitky, hoši. Máte tam 40 kitek. Halo? Ty vole, sleduj. Mají všechny kitky. Wow. Hostina. Ty jo. Ambessa tady nechápu, proč 369 jde in. Dívej, na blice. To jako, tady měli prostě ale dobrý read on hand, ví, že to je ten kitkový atakán a že můžou fightit na tom kitkovém atakanu, i když toho atakana vemou a potom vemou kitky.
Think could have even played that more aggressive with his flash up as well, but didn't want to risk it.
You do have to say though, you know,
Zeus level ahead, Peanut level ahead, Viper level ahead teďka. Ty kitky ti dají půl levelu, by the way. Na každém. Ještě jeden i ten na Vlada, no zatím to vypadá useless. Ale jako Vlad je vždycky z early mid game useless a pak late game je mašina jak blázen. Aurora dává ty vole jako hodně, ale... Pantheon ult, uvidíme, jak se jim povede engage. Delight, výborně. Zeka je prostě straight up dead. Zeka to úplně naintil. Dodgenul Aurora spely a přežívá celou dobu. Redemption! Kamo, jak dlouho tam přežil, to ti jebe, ne? To ještě s Jinem možná můžou trošku... Nemůžou. Utíkejte. Ale Zeka to tam ranu. Neumí hrát toho Vladimíra tak moc, jak Zeus. Opat by to tady vysvětlil, jak se to tady podělalo. Kitkový atakany napíšu v tom, že máš minus armor resisty, takže vždycky fightíš, jak ho máš. Dívej. A tady Zeka to úplně turbo, já si dělám na Zeku. Zeka jde in, dostane CC, stun. Jo. A Zeus je hrozně useless taky. S tím Jacksem. Ten Jax nevím, to bylo hodně susenky. Podívej se na AG, co měl Brian na snídaní, kouknu. A Kapes, máte vymyslený plán, co bude dneska jako v plánu? Nebo?
Really, a lot of credit deserved, I think, by Jackie, 369, and Chris for how they played around the soul laners here. Zeka goes in, gets chunked out, has to go back, and then really Zeus had to go in and try to bail out his mid laner. He had to try to actually provide that covering fire for him. He goes forward, and then they're able to really kind of kite him back and forth, not allow him to get big dive on the counter, get that kill. And they are not going out without a fight here. This game very, very close. The closest, I think, of all of them that we've had. We're 25 minutes in.
Problém je Aurora, tam má velký damage blázen.
We know how frail those can be. Delight looking for Jackie. Won't have the range to find him. And the missing extra teleport feels like it is, having some effect on this game. 369, again, still hasn't been able to get on the board. Neither top laner really has. But I do think he's performing very well in this series. And I gotta give him credit for being able to step
Kavárna Harry Potter, je tam čekací doba asi hodinu a pak jumping center, nějaký trampolíny a překážky.
and just no one feels like they can go toe to toe with this guy, but 369 definitely giving his best effort.
Hej, víš, že mě včera bolely kolena, když jsem šel z té střelnice ty 3 poschodí. Jak jako skákací jump park center.
I'm a little disappointed.
Well, I mean, if you're the parents of that red buff, you might be feeling like there was some blood, you know? Red buffs matter too.
I've never really considered this.
Aspoň bude klid.
To keep doing that. I'm a very sensitive man. I was like, I don't
No nic,
want to
hoši,
get
jdem
into all
dinosaury.
Fair enough. We won't delve too deep. Danger lies ahead.
Kapes mi to včera vysvětloval, že máš 2 ruce, tady je život, tady je farmení klipu a musíš to vyvažovat.
It's okay, you can play Ivern.
That's true. He is a friend of the forest.
Mě není 33, co jebe, zase mi nepřidávejte roky, hoši.
And that executioners, respectively, executioners obviously going to be a lot of value. And we're getting to the point where
Já si lehnu na hoďku 2 a uvidím, půjdu pak s nima do kavárny.
Or a great ult from Kanavi, 369 getting an ult into the enemy backline.
A tak víš co, Hanva dá 3-0 teďka, doufám. Jako reálně, jsem zvědavý fakt, jestli dokážu tuhle hru vyhrát, protože ten jejich draft je fakt dog shit. Oproti TES draftu. A Cream jako Smurfy, 3-0-3.
He was going to start to struggle a lot more as we entered this kind of phase of the game, but he's been able to stay ahead enough to keep that pressure on Zeka. Does have 9 stacks on that Dark Seal. Working in towards the zone, he's now sitting on Seekers.
Also, it feels to me like Zeka doesn't look nearly as comfortable on the Vladimir as Zeus did, right? As obviously
Jo, Zeka toho Vladimira piknul prostě, že si myslel, že to zahraje, ale neumí to tak moc dobře hrát.
Come home with an A and Zeus comes home with an A+.
Well, it's so funny because Zeka is, you know, a giant.
Yeah.
But in this game, I do think that's kind of how it feels. The Flat hasn't quite had the same impact. And then on the flip side, Cream actually having the impact on Aurora that I think many of us wanted to see. The first couple of games of first stand, I don't think it was quite, but this time around, he is a big threat to the enemy backline, and that is a 9-stack Dark Seal that might very well be turned into a Magi's if one more fight goes the way of TES, and this feels the most stable that they have been in this series, and outside of the one series that they won, perhaps throughout the entirety of first stand.
I mean, it's kind of a very LPL-style draft too, where it is very execution-heavy.
Myškinka to víš, jak že by to Dušan nebo Miken a Asta to rozali.
This is kind of that bread and butter.
Tak, 30 goldu advantage.
Level 16 now, a full level lead
Boty
over
má
369
Hanva.
at this point.
Což je huge pro Gina, to je hrozně důležitý. Divím se, že Vladimír nemá Swifties, že má CDR boty. Ty Swifties jsou mnohem důležitější, mi přijde. Zeus zase začíná split pushovat jak Magor. Protože hráli PUBG a probírali to, aha. Peanut to trošku intnul. Ty vole, Vladimír, Foreman, ultimátka. OK, Korky je okamžitě low, Zeus tam přiběhá. Mákaj, Peanut dvojtvečko. Peanut, dobrý flash, Zeus, oh! Kámo, tak to ne! Komu jak oni to vyhrávají ty hry, když mají tak shit draft? Vysvětli mě to. Kámo, co tam Zeus se Zekou zase provedli s Peanutem, to... Prostě týpci skill gapujou, oni ego checkujou, dogši draftama a Číňany a dávají jim stomp. První 2 drafty tryhardí a je to úplně free win. A třetí draft na intí, ok, Kanavi to tady trošku na intí, nebo Peanut, nabejtil prostě 4 lidi na sebe, Zeka díky tomu dá blasting plantu, to bylo nádherný. To prostě Peanut zahrál jak bůh. Peanut ví, že Vladimír je na té velké bombě, na tom blast plantu a schválně to nabejtí. Prostě schválně to nabejtí, aby ten Vladimír dal mega plantu a dal Foreman ultimátku. Ty týpci jsou, vole, šachoví grandmastři, oni prostě jsou úplně jinde. Oni předpovídají, co se bude dít, jak na to, hele, já udělám tohle, teď TES na to zareagou tímhle a potom Zeka dík, ty udělej tohle díky tomu. Chápeš? Ale když jsem to viděl znova, tak Maokai prostě Peanut je bůh. On prostě věděl přesně, určitě náhoda. Ne, to nebyla náhoda. Ten Vladimír tam stál celou dobu a pak Peanut doslova běží do Panteona aby ho Pantheon rozjel, že udělá chybu, jakoby chybu. Ale ta chyba nebyla chyba a oni si mysleli, že to byla chyba. A víš, TES si mysleli, že to byla chyba, tak to chtěli punishnout. Tím pádem se grupli a dávali punish Peanutovi. Vzali mu půlku HP, ale... Zeus trošku přehání, ne? Nebo? Aha, tak očividně ne. Zeus neumírá. Kork je největší bait AD pick.
Great sidestep though on the deadly flourish is going to mean Cream gets out, but at the end of the day, it's still Kanavi going down. It's still the
A on měl ještě Zoniu, ten Jax. Kemtek je taky halus, no.
The damage is still done, even though it's only Kanavi that falls. They're not able to actually get down.
No nic, ale Hanvat vypadá, že vyhraje. Dívej, jak přežije, ne? Ten Zeus, jak dlouho žije potom. Kanavi, teda Zeka, to je jedno. Ale sleduj prostě Zeus. Zeus, 1 ve 3, boom. Boom, mlátí to tam, týpci ho bijou a nic mu nedělají. Reálně. Hele, vypadá to, že Hanva vyhrajou. V ten moment uděláme giveaway o prostě 70 sušenek, a.k.a. 3 bedny sušenek. Každá bedna má 24 sušenek od KitKatku. A potom vyhlásím top dono tričko. Zatím Shaquille Casey jde pro top dono tričko s lítěm. Zase, pro další. A pak jdu chrnět. A zítra v 9 je finále Evropa proti Hanvě, no. A dál pak možná s kapesníkem půjdu dělat idle stream. Zeka to trošku smurfí teď už. A top lane je balance, ten týpek je prostě 3-4 a běhá tam, vole, jak... Jako týpek tam 1 ve 4 běhá, dává tam 1 ve 4 double kill, když ani není feedlay za toho Jaxe. Můžeš to vysvětlit? On je 3-5 doslova, on není feedlay. Tankuje tam 2 turety. Má ruce, ne, spíš hraje OP roli. Ale Zeus je buch. Oni nemají damage, no, do něj. Prostě 3-0, i když trolí draft třetí.
Flashes a Genji logo. Him and Peanut had a wonderful year on, but Genji they dispatched the
tak hoši, já tam jdu dát.
And now TES dispatched by them as well. This third game felt in many ways like the closest one, but the break point inevitably was found.
Tak, hele, na Twitchi, pokud jste na YouTube, můžete jít na Twitch a na Twitchi já vám ukážu nastavení. Máme settings, keyword, giveaway, viewers, já tam dám subové mají trojnásobnou šanci vyhrát, moderátoři mají taky trojnásobnou šanci vyhrát, jo. Next. Slovo je kitkat. Stačí napsat kitkat a máte to. Jo, já mezi tím zatím budu ukazovat interview.
Monster series, especially the first 2 games, complete jungle gap, and really across the board the team really did shine. I feel like there's nothing that exemplifies how
připomínám, o co se hraje,
than how safe this man looked in most.
Můžete si vybrat příchuť, vám pak napíšu, já mám pár příchutí, nemám všechny příchutě, ale mám pár.
Always Viper on the front foot. It's always Jackie trying to cut away, trying to run for his life, but not quite able to do it. HLE just know how to navigate these team fights, create space for their carries, put pressure in just the right ways on the back line. And when a fight isn't going their way, it always felt like they can limp out with just a couple hit points left.
Just a little bit of health. You know, just enough. And all my life, there's a reason this team is so tough to take down. Even if you look at this series alone, it felt like everyone had some crazy performances. Zeus arguably the worst out of everyone.
369 looked good.
I think 369 looked good, but that second game from Peanut, and
Hina and
from
Zeka.
Zeka, right? The amount of damage that they were able to do there. Then even Viper in this final game didn't feel like it was about him. I think he ended 13-2.
Chat, kdo teď hraje?
Quietest 13
Tak.
kills I think I've ever seen. I mean, they are just looking incredible, but let's send it back to the analysts for first stand cooldown.
Thank you so much, guys. We are back, indeed, for
Fell
cooldown.
for it award.
The last cooldown before
Fell
finals.
for it award.
And yet again,
Lol.
he fell for it. Ox, any
Jak
comments?
si myslel, že vyhraje Čína? GG.
They won domestically for the first time in 5 years. How are we not supposed to hope? First time in 5
Hele,
years.
roluj. Choose a winner, jo? Bank, Neubik 420. Neubik 420 je 1. Rolujem 3. Já si to tady musím zapsat, já vám tam pustím zase to.
There's like Emily, she's a little.
No, that was
glad you're here to like at least support
Neubik.
the idea that
I'm not
obviously
sure. I'm glad I'm here.
Další. Antrax do žily, Muffin vyhrává, halus. A další, třetí, tohle je třetí. A zítra budeme rolovat dál, zítra budou další. Reroll, Sob Melon. Tak.
That you can fall for it
A ještě,
yet
tak,
again.
máme vylosovaný 3 KitKat bedny.
They'll play
Zítra budeme losovat dál, zítra losujeme víc KitKat beden. Takže zítra se můžete zase přijít podívat na stream, na konci streamu asi, bych řekl. A nebo v průběhu streamu. Co? A hele, vyhlásíme top donor tričko za chvilku. A já si jdu pak bucnout.
it feels like, again, even in the series where we did see them drop a game, it feels like no one's really been able to truly like push them into looking truly vulnerable. I think is the way
Bucnout, jdu spát na hodinu. Hodina až 2 si dám prostě spáneček a potom dojdu asi za kapesníkem. Já půjdu spát na 2 hodiny tohle a pak buď budeme hrát dinosauříky, anebo půjdu s kapesníkem a s Brianem na ARL. Ale oni ti magoři chcou jít skákat na nějaký jump park nebo co. Jo, je to fun. No však, to si říkám taky, že bych mohl jít s nimi, když jsou tady.
Like a little bit off the wall.
Dino můžeme dát zítra, už zítra. Zítra po finále, zítra je v 9 ráno, Evropa proti Hanvě. Něco mi říká, že to bude 3-0. Tak, řekl jsem to, pardon. A potom můžeme dát dinosauříky.
The thing is, HLE were a really strong team last year, right? They won summer split for the LCK.
A mezi každým
even more. This team really demonstrates stability and affinity for picking a range of champions. We've seen that Vladimir flex come out.
Mezi každou hrou rozdáme KitKat bednu, sušenek.
We haven't seen in a long time show up that often. And I think they've just gone from strength to strength.
Jsem refund, ty nevěříš Jajkovi? No, nevěřím mu. Viděl jsem Jajk Vaj a viděl jsem Peanut Vaj a jako... Mám pocit, že bych se měl soudit s tím, že jsem si objednal prostě Peanut Vaj, ale přišla mi Jajk Vaj. A normálně vysoudím milion, já budu miliardář, že mi prodali špatný produkt.
You look at those players, the fact that they click with each other so well, that they connect so well as a team, that they had so much time to practice even on stage.
Ale musíš mít falešnou naději, já to neumím, já neumím to, co dělá Kejdro, že prostě, že prostě tam uděláš fake, že si prostě, že fakeuješ, že máš naději, já naději nemám. Já vidím, jak hraje Hanva, vidím, jak hraje prostě Casey.
I remember
ale třeba mě zítra překvapí.
Like, who do I want that's like shown really strong creativity throughout their domestic performance? And for LCK, it was Tomwan initially, or G plus Kia, but then it was also HLE, right? So I think that was, it's just so fun to see them show up and perform super well in a way that's also showcases how much fun they're having playing together.
On the other side, sending two teams
Ukaž IG, co Brian raňajkoval.
We've talked about TES. I'm not gonna put you to the suffering of talking about them again.
Tak.
TFO though, honorable mention from this roster. Again, no expectations from them coming at the tournament.
Mňam. A napsal k tomu mňam.
Here, I'm really impressed. I really want to see them at international again, whether it's MSI, whether it's World. That's an exciting team that I'm excited to. That's a lot of excitement, I know, but that I really want to see again at international.
They should be really proud of that performance today, you know, especially given that it looked like it could have been like a 3-0 blowout at first. They really dug deep to come back into it. You know, the young players in particular, it's not an easy task to do, and despite not making the finals, I think they won a lot of fans.
Tak jo, ale za chvilku končím, takže pokud někdo chcete Shakilskému snaknout tričko, top dono tričko, tak můžete, protože on už má 2 a říkal, že už jako už jen donejti z principu, takže vás nebude přehazovat. Anyway, možná ho získá po třetí. Nedělá ti chutě koukat na ty stripsy, ne, zvedá se mi žaludek. Ale jaký story time je to, že prostě Casey byli 0-2, všichni říkali, že to je nejhorší tým ever, že čoukujou, jak teda čoukuje furt, ale oni potom kvůli tomu, že vyhráli proti Číňanům a Oystři potom vyhrajou proti Číňanům, tak si postoupí a díky tomu jsme ve finále, protože pak hrajeme proti Oystrům a my v Game 5 porazíme Oystry a jsme ve finále. To mi prostě nevysvětlíš, to je cinema. To někdo napsal ten scénář pro tu Evropu. Jak vypadá to tričko? Vyšitý uprostřed zlatou nití freeze a číslování vlevo dole 1 až 7, je těch 7 triček. Dneska je 6. a zítra je 7. Jo, takže a bude to číslovaný podle toho, lidi dostanou číslování podle toho, jaký den to dali to top dono tričko. Takže zítra někdo, kdo bude mít top dono tričko, tak bude mít 7 ze 7. A New Milda má 1. Safarič má 2, Shakilský má 3 a 4, Onzik má 5 a 6 je dneska.
That they look really good on. Additionally, I'm just really looking forward to the Zeus Kana matchup. I think it's going to be so fun. There's such a cool story there too, with both of them having previously played for T1
Kdyby není oversize, není to oversize 3, to triko.
I think it's really exciting, and I think they've both
jenom rukávy to má jakoby delší. Jdeš lolečko, ne, já jdu spát. Já po tomhle interview jdu spát.
Will KC take down Hanwha Life in Sports at their own home, or will HLE be able to have a clean sweep and the way to the crown? First and finals starts tomorrow
Já nosím
at
M-ko.
5 p.m. KST.
Ne, L-ko nosím.
Ty chceš Žižko, dám ti místo toho radu.
Tak, Troval si jde pro to tričko, dobré. Tak to Trovaldovi musím dát místo X3 na kitkatky X5, příště na moderátory. Tak jo, že jakmile dojede stream, tak finish. Podíváme se na tohle ještě. I'm mega smurfing, Targa hrál dobře, no.
Co to sakra bylo?
Já nevím. Prostě to bouchlo.
Prostě to bouchlo.
Ale no jo, pojedeme se tam podívat.
Tak hoši, tak jo. Hino, včera ti to vyfouk, no. Tak, Trovald GG, -1K. Trovalde, příští merče pro moderátory zadáčo. Příští merč, příští co budu dělat. To jsem vám říkal, ne, modi? Že každý moderátor to bude mít tričko zadáčo. Dobře jsem ho nabejtil, nešlo nic. Hyeno, včera mi to nějaký šupák vyfoukl, když jsem nemohl koukat na stream Matge. No a já vím přesně, kdo ten šupák je. Ale To říkáš vždycky, ne, to říkám to poprvé. A teďka to tak bude. Kolik za moda? Ne, moderátoři. Hyena nejlepší, ale Hyeno, děkuji za 2,5. Děkuji za 2,5, když si pro to top do trička vypadá. Troval, já ti děkuji za 1050, chlape. Chtělo by to novej. Tak, teď se kurva hoši domluvte.
Co to sakra bylo?
Já nevím.
Sionik 3 litry, ty píčo. Ej, tak tohle jsem nečekal.
Ale no jo, pojedeme se tam podívat.
Tak, je na minus 2,5.
Já fakt nevím, proč
07.
Nikdy seš jak retard.
GG. Tak. Ej, borci, kde jste byli celou dobu? Tady je už 6 dní top dono tričko. Vy jste chyběli, ne? Sionik, díky za 3 litry, chlape, děkuju. To je top dono tričko válí, IRL content, já půjdu s kapesem, já se půjdu jenom vyspat. Já se půjdu vyspat na 2 hoďky a pak pojedu za kapesníkem za Brianem. Jsem ani nevěděl, že mám na účtě. Ty jsi nevěděl, že máš účtě na peníze a teď jsi mi je poslal? Tak teď už je nemáš, no. Jakoby, co ti na to mám říct? Ne, kuci, já děkuji za podporu, to je krása. No, tak Hyena spojuje se Sionikem o top dono tričko.